Welcome to Shredder Fanfic. Like, subscribe, and hype video. Join members to gain early access to new videos. The main character gets reborn inside of Hazbin Hotel after he dies as God. What will he do inside of Hazbin Hotel? How will Lucifer and Sarah react to him? How will Hell and Heaven react to him? What is he going to do about Hazbin Hotel?
Hazbin Hotel, Reborn as God. Chapter 1, The office still stood. I died to a truck. There was no light, no tunnel, no speech, no last thought worth keeping. One moment I was crossing a street with a plastic bag cutting into my fingers, and the next there was impact, weight, noise, and then nothing. The nothing did not stretch. It did not linger. It ended. I woke up sitting upright. The chair beneath me was solid, wide-backed, and carved from pale stone that did not feel cold. My hands rested on armrests that were warm from use. My feet touched a floor tiled in gold and white. The air smelled clean in a simple way, like a place that was aired out every day and never gathered dust. I knew where I was before I looked around. Heaven. Hazbin Hotel's heaven. Not an idea of it. The actual place as it existed in the show, in that point of time, with its politics unfinished and its rules untested. I also knew who I was. God. Not a metaphor, not a title I needed to earn. I felt it the way you feel your own balance when you stand. The authority sat in me without effort. The awareness did not rush in. It was already there, organized, familiar. I had full memory of my past life and full memory of the canon. None of it conflicted. It just sat together. I exhaled slowly and leaned forward, elbows on my knees. Well, I said to the empty hall, lightly. That's new. The hall responded by remaining silent. The room I was in was the central office. Not a throne room. Not a cathedral. An office. Wide ceiling, tall windows looking out over layered clouds and floating structures, desks arranged for administration, not worship. Papers stacked neatly. Light moving gently across surfaces as heaven rotated in its slow, artificial day. This was where God was supposed to be. Which meant everyone had been working without me. I stood up. My movement was unremarkable. No shockwave. No glow. Just a tall figure in white clothing that fit comfortably, sleeves rolled just enough to look casual. I glanced down at myself, checked that I looked presentable. I did. I walked. My footsteps echoed softly as I moved through the outer office. A few lesser angels froze when they saw me. One dropped a stack of folders. Another stared with her mouth open, then slapped her own face once, quietly. I gave them a small wave. Morning, I said cheerfully. That did not help. I kept going, following memory rather than signs, until I reached the inner chamber where the speaker of God worked. She was there, seated at a curved desk, reviewing a glowing document. Her wings were folded tight against her back. Her hair was pinned up the way it always was when she was focused. She looked tired. I cleared my throat. She looked up. For a full second, her expression did not change. Then her eyes widened. Her chair scraped back as she stood too fast, hands bracing on the desk. No, she said, breath catching. No, that's not. I raised a hand. Hey. She stared. Her wings twitched. Once. Twice. Then she walked around the desk slowly, like she expected me to vanish if she moved too fast. You're dead, she said. Her voice shook. You've been. Gone, I finished. Yet. I noticed. She stopped an arm's length away from me. Her eyes were wet now, but she did not cry yet. She reached out, hesitated, then pressed her palm against my chest. I let her. Her shoulders dropped. You're alive, she said. You're actually here. I am, I said. Sorry about the delay. She laughed once, sharply, and then covered her mouth. Tears followed, quiet and controlled. She wiped them away with the back of her hand and straightened, professionalism snapping back into place through sheer habit. I'm so glad, she said. I didn't know what we were supposed to do anymore. I can imagine, I replied. So, what did I miss? That brought the tension back into her posture. She gestured toward the desk, then stopped herself, choosing to speak instead. Recently, she said carefully, the daughter of Lucifer Morningstar came to heaven. I nodded. Charlie. Her eyes flicked up at me, sharp. Yes. She's running a hotel, I said. For redemption. The speaker inhaled. She believes sinners can be redeemed. She does. That isn't possible, she said automatically, the words coming from policy, not belief. I tilted my head. That's where you're wrong. Her brow furrowed. My lord. It is possible, I said. Just very, very, very hard. She stared at me, processing. Hope tried to surface and got pushed back down by centuries of precedent. She came here asking us to stop the exterminations, the speaker said quietly. To give them time. To help her. And we refused, she said. Sierra refused. I nodded again. That tracks. The speaker hesitated, then straightened fully. Should I call a meeting? Yes, I said. Everyone. She did not question it. She turned, raised her staff, and sent the call through heaven. The response was immediate. Angels filled the chamber in waves. Administrators, soldiers, watchers. Wings brushed the air. Voices hushed as recognition spread. Sierra arrived with measured steps, her face already composed, eyes assessing. Emily followed close behind her, barely containing her energy. Adam came in loud and unapologetic, stopping short when he saw me. He stared. Well, I'll be damned, Adam said. Literally. I smiled at him. Good to see you too. He blinked, then grinned. Holy shit. You're real. I always was, I said. You just hadn't met me yet. That earned a laugh from him. Respect followed fast, the kind that came from instinct rather than fear. Adam straightened, arms crossing, posture attentive despite himself. The room settled. Sierra stepped forward. She bowed her head, precise and formal. My lord, she said. Welcome back. Thank you, I replied. Let's keep this simple. I looked around the room, meeting eyes. Angels who had only known rules without a source. Soldiers who had carried out exterminations as routine. Administrators who had balanced ledgers of souls. I'm God, I said. In case there was any confusion. There wasn't. Every angel bowed. Even Adam inclined his head. I continued, tone light but clear. I asked for this meeting because I want to address a few things directly. Sierra lifted her chin. If this is about the hotel. It is, I said. A murmur rippled through the room. The exterminations will stop, I said. The room went silent. Sierra's wings flared slightly. My lord, with respect, that decision cannot be made lightly. I just made it lightly, I said. And firmly. She took a breath. Hell's population growth is not your problem to solve with slaughter, I said, still calm. Adam shifted. Not to interrupt God or anything, he said, but extermination's kind of our whole thing. I know, I said. You've been very committed. He scratched the back of his neck. So, what now? We help, I said. The hotel. Emily's face lit up immediately. She clasped her hands together, wings fluttering. I knew it, she said. I knew it could work. Sierra turned to her sharply. Emily. Emily bit her lip but did not look away. Sierra faced me again. Her voice was steady, but her eyes were not. My lord, she said, redemption has never occurred. Not once. We built our systems around that truth. And now that truth is incomplete, I said. She swallowed. You're saying, she said slowly, that everyone we condemned, everyone we erased. I am, I said. Her composure cracked. Not loudly. Just enough for grief to show through the structure she lived in. I thought, she said quietly, that if it wasn't possible, then at least it was necessary. Emily stepped closer to her, placing a hand on her arm. It doesn't mean you're wrong, Emily said gently. It just means we can do better now. Sierra closed her eyes for a moment. When she opened them, there were tears she did not bother hiding. I will comply, she said. Of course. I nodded. Good. I looked around again. This doesn't mean chaos. It doesn't mean forgiveness without effort. Redemption is possible, not easy. Charlie's hotel will struggle. It will fail a lot. That's fine. Adam raised a hand. So, no more killing sprees. Correct. He sighed. Damn. I was really good at those. You can be good at mentoring instead, I said. He made a face. We'll see. I smiled. Meeting adjourned. The angels hesitated, then dispersed in quiet clusters, voices low, wings rustling. Emily lingered, practically bouncing. Thank you, she said brightly. Really? You're welcome, I said. Sierra remained where she was, staring at the floor. I should have known, she said softly. I should have questioned it. You did what you thought was right with the information you had, I said. That matters. She nodded once. The room emptied. When I was alone again, I exhaled and rubbed my face with both hands. The weight of it settled in then. Not doubt. Responsibility. I glanced toward the windows, toward the distant direction of hell. Tomorrow, I said to myself. We visit the hotel. I turned and left the chamber, steps unheard. Chapter 2, Open doors, no weapons. Morning did not announce itself in heaven. There was no bell, no call, no change in temperature. The light simply shifted its angle, clean and even, spreading across white stone and gold trim the way it always did. Heaven remained orderly because it had never been allowed to be anything else. I stood near the main gate, hands loosely folded behind my back, waiting. I knew exactly what time it was. I knew who would arrive first. I also knew this visit would not fix anything by itself. That knowledge did not weigh on me. It simply informed me. Adam arrived with heavy steps, boots clicking loudly against the marble as if daring the place to object. He rolled his shoulders, cracked his neck, and glanced around. So this is really happening, he said. We're walking into hell. No weapons. No killing. No extermination, I corrected calmly. He grimaced. You really know how to suck the fun out of stuff. You'll survive, I replied easily. Sierra arrived next. Her wings were folded neatly, her posture straight, expression composed but tense around the eyes. She had not slept well. I could tell without asking. Responsibility sat on her heavier than it ever had before. Lute followed half a step behind her, eyes sharp, jaw tight. She scanned the gate, the space beyond it, her hand resting near her weapon out of habit. She did not trust this. She did not like it. She would obey anyway. Emily arrived last, practically glowing with energy she was trying and failing to contain. Her wings fluttered once before she stilled them, hands clasped in front of her. "I still can't believe this," Emily said quietly, eyes bright. "Charlie's really doing it." "She is," I said. "And she's going to need help." Emily nodded eagerly. I turned and opened the way. There was no dramatic tear in space. Heaven simply stepped aside. Heat rolled through immediately, thick and familiar. The scent of smoke, metal, and something sweetly rotten followed. Hell waited on the other side exactly as it was supposed to. Loud. Crowded. Alive in its own broken way. We stepped through together. The sky was red, layered with slow-moving clouds that never promised rain. Buildings leaned at strange angles, stacked on each other in defiance of planning laws that had never existed. Neon signs flickered endlessly. Distant shouting blended into the constant hum of the city. The Hazbin Hotel stood out. It always did. Bright paint. Tall sign. Windows that looked like they wanted to let light in, even if hell refused to cooperate. It was optimism given physical form, and that alone made it fragile. Charlie was already outside. She stood at the front steps, hands clasped tightly together, posture straight but nervous. When she saw us, her breath caught visibly. Her eyes widened, then widened more, then filled with something that hovered between disbelief and relief. "Oh," she said. Then, "Oh wow." She stepped forward without thinking, then stopped herself halfway, clearly unsure of protocol that had never existed before. "Hi," she said, voice a little too high. "Welcome. Welcome to the Hazbin Hotel." Vaggie appeared at her side instantly, spear half raised before she caught herself. Her glare locked immediately onto Adam and Lute. "What are they doing here?" Vaggie said sharply. "No extermination," I said calmly, before anyone else could speak. "I promised." Vaggie's grip tightened, then loosened slightly. She did not lower the spear completely. Charlie looked at me again, really looked this time. She started, then stopped, swallowing. "You're really here?" "I said I'd help," I replied. "This is me doing that." Her shoulders dropped, tension releasing all at once. A smile spread across her face, unguarded and genuine. "Okay," she said quickly, nodding to herself. "Okay. Please, come in. All of you." Inside, the hotel smelled like cleaning supplies and old carpet. The lobby looked better than it had any right to, patched together with effort and hope rather than money. The front desk was slightly crooked. The chandelier flickered. It was still standing. Nifty zipped across the lobby with a bucket, skidded to a stop when she saw us, gasped loudly, and ducked behind the front desk. She peeked out a second later, eyes sparkling. "Oh my goodness," she whispered loudly. "Angels!" Emily waved enthusiastically. "Hi!" Nifty squealed and immediately started circling Emily, eyes fixed on her wings. "They're so clean," she said in awe. Husk leaned against the bar, squinting at us through half-lidded eyes. "Fantastic," he muttered. "More authority figures." Angel Dust leaned over the counter, eyes traveling openly before stopping on me. "Well damn," Angel said. "Guess the hotel's got divine endorsement now." Charlie cleared her throat, flustered but determined. "Everyone," she said, "these are guests. Important guests." I stepped forward, hands visible, posture relaxed. "I'm not here to judge," I said plainly. "I'm here to support this place." Vaggie's eyes narrowed. Support how? I gestured lightly. Crates appeared along the lobby wall with a soft thud. Real food. Fresh produce. Clean water. Supplies wrapped and labeled neatly. Things Hel rarely saw without strings attached. Charlie's hands flew to her mouth. This helps so much, she said, voice shaking just a little. We were struggling with everything. I know, I said. That's why I brought it. Emily stepped forward beside her, smiling brightly. I'll be staying here for a while, Emily said. If anyone tries to hurt the hotel, I'll help handle it. Angel blinked. You're surprisingly friendly. Emily laughed softly. I get that a lot. Alastair watched from near the staircase, hands folded behind his back, smile fixed and sharp. His eyes lingered on me, assessing, curious, amused. He did not speak. Adam shifted his weight, clearly uncomfortable. So, we good? Yes, I said. You, Lute, and Sira will return to heaven. Lute looked like she wanted to argue, but Sira placed a hand on her arm. Sira stepped forward, looking directly at Charlie. Be careful, Sira said quietly. Charlie nodded, earnest. I will. Adam gave Charlie a short nod, then turned away. Lute followed, stiff and silent. Sira lingered half a second longer, then turned and left with them. The air felt different when they were gone. Emily remained, practically vibrating with excitement. She immediately began introducing herself properly, listening intently as Nifty talked at full speed. Angel leaned against the counter, chatting casually. Husk sighed but stayed nearby. Charlie watched it all with a soft smile, relief written across her face. I took a step back, giving them space. This was their place. Not mine. Charlie noticed and turned to me. Thank you, she said sincerely. Really? You're welcome, I replied. She hesitated. You're staying? Not here, I said. I have one more stop to make. Her expression shifted, understanding dawning. My dad, she said quietly. Yes. She nodded slowly. He's complicated. I know, I said. He always has been. I glanced back once at the lobby. Emily laughed at something Angel said. Nifty buzzed around her happily. Alastair watched from the shadows, smile unchanged. The hotel stood. I turned toward the exit. I'll be back, I said simply. Then I stepped out into Hell's noise again, already moving toward my next destination, leaving the hotel behind me supplied, protected, and open for the work it had set out to do. Chapter 3, Old Rules, quietly broken. I left the hotel without ceremony. Hell did not react to my movement. It never did. The streets stayed loud, crowded, and careless. Demons shouted. Signs flickered. Somewhere far off, something exploded, and nobody treated it as important. The city continued because it always continued. I walked. I did not teleport. I did not bend space. I walked through hell at a normal pace, hands in my pockets, head upright, letting the place exist around me. It mattered that I did it this way. Lucifer would notice. As I moved, I felt the seal before I saw him. It sat like a constant pressure threaded through hell itself, subtle but absolute. A restriction placed long ago, layered carefully by the elder angels. Lucifer could rule. He could shape. He could intimidate. But he could not directly harm sinners the way he once had. Not physically. Not permanently. Not without consequence. It was not mercy. It was control. Lucifer's palace rose ahead, tall and elegant, its design sharp but playful, like someone who liked grandeur but refused to take it seriously. The doors opened before I reached them. Inside, Lucifer was already waiting. He stood near the center of the main chamber, cane resting lightly against his shoulder, wings relaxed. He was smiling, wide and theatrical, but his eyes were sharp with recognition rather than surprise. He looked at me up and down once. "You've got to be kidding me," Lucifer said. I smiled. "Hey." He stared for a moment longer, then laughed, loud and bright, clapping his hands together once. "No way," he said. "No way." "Are you?" "The one and only," I said cheerfully. "In the flesh." His grin widened, then faltered just slightly as the weight of it landed. "God," Lucifer said, voice quieter now. "You're God?" "Yes." He blinked. "Hey." That was it. No shouting. No anger. No dramatic fallout. Just a long look, followed by him adjusting his coat and clearing his throat. "Well," he said lightly, "this explains a few things." I stepped closer. "Mind if we talk?" Lucifer gestured broadly. "Please." "By all means. You've already made yourself very comfortable." I glanced around. "You redecorated?" "Had time," he replied easily. "When you're stuck running hell, you pick up hobbies." I stopped in front of him. The seal pressed between us, unseen but heavy. Lucifer noticed my focus immediately. His smile turned knowing. "Ah," he said. "That?" "Yes," I said. He tapped his cane against the floor once. "Elder Angel's work. Very thorough. Very smug. Very unnecessary," I said. Lucifer's eyes flicked up to mine. "Careful." "I am being careful." I raised my hand. There was no flash. No noise. No resistance. The seal did not fight me. It unraveled the way something artificial always does when touched by the one it was made to restrain. Lucifer stiffened. He inhaled sharply, shoulders tensing, wings flaring just a little before settling again. He looked down at his hands, flexed his fingers once, then laughed under his breath. "Oh," he said. "Oh, that's gone." "Yes," I said. He looked up slowly. "You realize what you just did?" "I do." He studied me, searching for the catch. "You're not punishing me," Lucifer said. "You're not testing me. You're not setting a trap." "No," I replied. "I'm removing a bad decision." Lucifer's smile softened into something more honest. "Well, that's new." I stepped back, giving him space. "Redemption is possible," I said plainly. The room went still. Lucifer's expression froze, then cracked, just enough to show shock underneath the humor. "What?" he said. "It's possible," I repeated. "Hard. Slow. Inconsistent. But possible." He stared at me for several seconds. His grip tightened on his cane, then loosened. "You're serious," he said. "Yes." He laughed once, short and sharp, then dragged a hand down his face. "You have any idea how long I've been told that was impossible?" Lucifer said, voice light but edged. "By angels. By heaven. By myself." "I know," I said. He looked away, pacing a few steps before stopping again. "Charlie," he said quietly. "Yes." He exhaled slowly. "She's not wrong." "No," I said. "She isn't." Lucifer turned back toward me, studying my face. "You stopped the exterminations," he said. "Yes." He nodded once. "About time." We stood there for a moment, the tension settling into something calmer. Lucifer snapped his fingers. A table appeared between us with drinks already poured. "Sit," he said. "If you're going to upend the system, at least have a drink while you do it." I took the seat across from him. He leaned back, boots resting casually against the table's edge. "So," Lucifer said. "You here to lecture me?" "No." "To apologize?" "No." "Good," he said. "I hate those." We talked. Not about philosophy. Not about blame. About Charlie. About hell's logistics. About heaven's habits. Lucifer complained freely. I listened. I corrected him when he exaggerated. He rolled his eyes and accepted it. At one point, he laughed so hard he nearly spilled his drink. "I can't believe it," he said. "God just walked into hell, fixed my seal, told me my kid's right, and didn't smite anything." "I'm in a good mood," I replied. He smirked. "I can tell." Eventually, the conversation slowed. Lucifer rested his chin on his hand, expression thoughtful but not heavy. "You know," he said, "they barred me from heaven officially. Not just politically." "I know," I said. "They made it permanent," he added. "I know." I leaned forward slightly. "You can come back anytime," I said. "I'll override it." Lucifer blinked. "What?" "I'll override what the elder angels did," I repeated. "If you want to visit. Or stay. Or never come back at all. Your choice." He stared at me, stunned. "You're serious," he said again. "Yes." For once, he didn't joke. He looked down, quiet. "I'll think about it," he said. "That's all I'm asking." We sat there a little longer. No rush. No pressure. Eventually, I stood. "I should go," I said. Lucifer looked up, grin returning slowly. "Well. This was unexpected. I tend to have that effect." He chuckled. "You're welcome back anytime too. Hell's always open." "I know." I turned toward the exit. Behind me, Lucifer spoke again, softer. "Hey." I paused. "Thanks," he said. "For her." I nodded once, then left. Hell continued on. And somewhere above, rules adjusted without announcement. Chapter 4, Productive Suggestions. The transition back to heaven was quiet. One moment hell's noise pressed against my ears, constant and layered, and the next it was gone. Clean air. Even light. The familiar structure of heaven settled around me without resistance. I did not announce myself. I did not need to. The place adjusted the way it always did, doors opening, paths aligning, space making room. I walked. I was in a good mood. That lingered from hell, from the conversation, from the fact that things had moved without blood or panic. That did not mean everything was solved. It just meant I had room to be casual for a moment. Adam's section of heaven was loud before I even reached it. Music played somewhere inside, fast and obnoxious. Laughter followed, Adam's voice rising above it all. I stopped outside the door, listening for a second, then knocked once. Yeah, come in," Adam called out. I opened the door and stepped inside. The room was a mess in a very deliberate way. Furniture pushed around, empty containers scattered, weapons leaning against walls without care. Adam lounged back in a chair with his boots up on a table. Lute stood nearby, arms crossed, watching something on a floating display with clear irritation. They both looked up at the same time. Adam blinked. "Oh." Lute's eyes narrowed. "You." "Hey," I said cheerfully. Adam sat up a little. So, did hell explode or something? No, I replied. Still there. He clicked his tongue. Shame. Lute turned toward him sharply. Don't. What? Adam said. I'm kidding. I moved farther into the room, glancing around. You two look bored, I said. Adam scoffed. Yet. Turns out when you tell us not to kill people anymore, there's a lot of free time. That's what I wanted to talk about, I said happily. Lute's expression tightened. We don't need busy work. You do, I said. You just don't know it yet. Adam leaned forward, resting his elbows on his knees. All right. Hit us. What's the divine assignment? I clasped my hands together once. Dogs, I said. They both stared at me. Dogs, Adam repeated slowly. Yes, I said. Heaven has plenty of them. Strays, abandoned souls, animals that never got proper care. I think we should open a dog hospital. Maybe a dog adoption center too. Silence. Lute blinked once. You're joking. No, I said easily. I'm serious. Adam burst out laughing. You brought us back here for dogs. They're good, I replied. Loyal. Simple. Appreciative. Lute's mouth twitched. This is not a military task. Exactly, I said. That's the point. Adam wiped his eyes, still grinning. Okay, okay. What about cats? I tilted my head. What about them? Cat adoption, he offered. I shook my head immediately. No. Lute looked at me. Why not? Dogs are infinitely better than cats, I said without hesitation. Adam laughed harder. Oh my God, he's serious. Lute stared at me, incredulous. That's not an official stance. It is now, I replied calmly. She took a step closer. You cannot prioritize animals based on personal preference. Watch me. Adam leaned back again, crossing his arms. So let me get this straight. You stop exterminations, start redemption, and now you want us running a dog hospital. Yes. And not cats. Correct. Lute's eye twitched. This is ridiculous. You're ridiculous, I replied pleasantly. She stared at me for a second longer, then reached out, grabbed my sleeve, and physically pushed me toward the door. That's enough, she said flatly. We will find something to do ourselves. Adam was still laughing as she shoved me out. Hey, wait, I said, still smiling. I had more ideas. The door slammed shut in my face. I stood there for a moment, listening to Adam's laughter muffled through the door and Lute telling him to shut up. I smiled to myself. Then I turned and walked away, hands back in my pockets, already thinking about what they might actually end up doing instead. Heaven continued on, orderly and unchanged on the surface, even as its routines quietly shifted underneath. Chapter 5, Help, then Consequences. I went back down to hell the same way I had come up. No announcement. No crowd. No fanfare. Heaven opened, hell received, and the change in air hit me like it always did. Heat first, then smell, then noise. Hell did not welcome people. It simply endured them. I walked toward the Hazbin hotel at an easy pace, hands in my pockets, shoulders loose. I was still in a decent mood from earlier. Adam and Lute slamming a door in my face had been funny in a simple way. I did not take it personally. They were predictable. That made them manageable. As I moved through Pentagram City, I noticed the small shifts that had already started. Demons watched me longer than they should have. A few stepped aside even before I got close, as if some instinct told them not to test whatever I was. Others whispered to each other, eyes darting. Some looked angry. Some looked nervous. Some looked excited in a way that usually meant violence. I knew the canon well enough to know how fast rumors spread in hell. I also knew what certain kinds of demons did when they heard heaven and help in the same sentence. Some would see opportunity. Some would see weakness. Some would want to prove they couldn't be controlled. When I reached the hotel, I expected to hear Emily's voice in the lobby. Bright. Friendly. Moving too fast for anyone else's comfort. I didn't. The front doors were open. The lobby lights flickered as usual. The place looked the same, but the energy felt different. Less airy. Less like a new presence was trying to be gentle with everything. I stepped inside. Charlie was near the front desk with a clipboard, posture straight, trying to look organized. Her smile came up when she saw me, quick and relieved. Oh. Hi, Charlie said warmly. You're back. I'm back, I replied. Where's Emily? Charlie's smile faltered slightly. She left. That surprised me enough that my eyebrows lifted. Already? Charlie nodded. Yeah. She said she needed to report back and then come back later. She was really sweet about it. She said she'd be back soon. Vaggie stood behind her, arms crossed, watching me carefully. Her expression was guarded, but not hostile. She looked tired, like she'd been bracing for things to go wrong and hadn't let herself relax once. Did something happen? Vaggie asked. Not here, Charlie said quickly, then glanced at Vaggie like she was trying to keep the tone light. It's been okay. I nodded. I didn't push. If Emily had left, she had her reasons. I could guess at a few. Heaven was not good at letting anything new exist without paperwork. Angel dust was sprawled on the lobby couch like it belonged to him personally. He looked up, eyes narrowing with interest. Well, Angel said. The big guy's back. Husk was at the bar, wiping a glass with a rag that looked like it had already lived through too much. He glanced over without much expression. Great, Husk muttered. More visits. Nifty zipped by with a feather duster, stopped when she saw me, and waved both hands rapidly. Hello. Nifty said brightly. We're doing good. Mostly. The supplies were very nice. Glad, I replied. Alastair stood near the stairs, smile fixed in place, eyes bright in a way that suggested he was enjoying the uncertainty of everything. He didn't speak. He just watched. Charlie clutched her clipboard a little tighter. So, she said, trying to sound casual, did you talk to my dad? I did, I said. Her eyes widened. And? It went fine, I replied. He didn't set anything on fire. Vaggie gave a flat look. That's the bar now. Charlie laughed softly, a little tense. Okay. Good. Then she paused, eyes flicking toward the open doors behind me, like she was sensing something. I turned my head slightly. Footsteps approached. Not hurried, not sneaky. Confident. Almost playful. I didn't need to guess who it was. Lucifer walked in like he owned the place, which was accurate in a technical sense and very inaccurate in the sense Charlie was trying to build. He wore a bright, sharp outfit that looked designed to be noticed. His hat sat perfectly. His grin was wide, but his eyes were focused on Charlie first, not on the room. Charlie froze. Dad, she said, voice caught between surprise and alarm. Char. Lucifer said cheerfully, arms spreading as if he expected applause. Look at this place. It's adorable. It's got that little scrappy thing going on. Charlie's mouth opened, then closed. Her shoulders lifted slightly, like she wanted to brace for impact. I didn't know you were coming, Charlie said carefully. Lucifer waved a hand. Well, I didn't know I was coming either until I decided I was coming. You know how it is. Vaggy's grip tightened on her spear. Not raised. Just ready. Lucifer noticed her and offered a bright smile. Hi, Vaggy. Vaggy did not smile back. Lucifer. He turned his attention toward me then, grin still present. His eyes flicked over me like he was confirming I was real. Hey, he said. You again. Hi, I replied cheerfully. Charlie's eyes bounced between us. Wait, she said, confused, you too. We talked, Lucifer said easily. Briefly. Very casual. Very normal. I nodded. Normal is doing a lot of work there. Lucifer chuckled. Charlie looked overwhelmed in a very Charlie way. She hugged her clipboard to her chest and took a breath like she was trying not to get pulled into a panic spiral. So, Charlie said, forcing a smile, you're here to help. Lucifer's grin softened just a little. Yeah. I'm here to help. The room went quiet for a second. Even Angel stopped smirking. Husk stopped wiping the glass. Nifty slowed down enough to stare. Charlie's eyes got shiny. She looked away quickly, blinking hard. Oh, she said quietly. Okay. Lucifer stepped closer, not pushing into her space, just standing near enough that it was obvious he was choosing to be present. I'm not here to take over, Lucifer said, still light, but his tone had a small seriousness underneath it. I'm not here to mock it. I'm here because you care, and I can do something about that. Charlie nodded quickly, swallowing. Okay. Vaggy watched him like she expected him to change his mind mid-sentence. I leaned slightly toward Lucifer, voice low enough that the others wouldn't catch every word. You sure about this? I asked. Lucifer shrugged, smiling. No. But I'm doing it anyway. I nodded once. That was the most honest answer he could give without making it weird. Charlie cleared her throat and shifted back into host mode immediately, because that was what she did when she didn't know how to handle her feelings. Okay, she said, brighter. Great. We can start with something simple. Like, helping with the lobby. Or maybe you could talk to some guests. We're still kind of building trust. Lucifer clapped his hands together once. Easy. I can do trust. I'm very trustworthy. Husk let out a rough laugh. Sure. Lucifer turned his head toward Husk, grinned sharp. You look like you need a nap. Husk stared. You look like you need to leave. Charlie jumped in quickly. Okay. Great. Dad, maybe you can help me with the front desk for a bit. Lucifer pointed at himself. Me? Front desk? Oh, Char, you shouldn't. Charlie gave him a pleading look. Lucifer's grin softened. Fine. But if anyone asks for a manager, I'm telling them I'm the manager. You're not, Charlie said quickly. Lucifer leaned close, stage whispering. I am, though. Charlie's expression tried to be stern and failed. Dad. Lucifer straightened, still smiling. Okay. I'll behave. I watched the scene and felt a small warmth in my chest that I didn't comment on. It wasn't dramatic. It was just, good, in a quiet way, that he had shown up. Then the front doors slammed open hard enough to rattle the frame. The sound cut through the lobby like a blade. Charlie flinched. Vaggy's spear came up instantly. Husk set the glass down and reached for something under the bar. Angel slid off the couch with a practiced quickness that didn't match his usual lazy act. Nifty let out a tiny squeak and ducked behind a chair. 3 demons walked in like they were here to prove something. Not overlords. Not the kind with real power. The kind that wanted attention. The kind that saw a bright sign and thought it made a good target. One of them laughed, loud and nasty. Another cracked his knuckles. The third looked around with narrowed eyes, spotting Lucifer and pausing for half a second, confusion flickering across his face. Then he pushed through it. "Look at this," the first demon said, voice rough. "Little princess play in charity." Charlie straightened, forcing a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Hi," she said politely. "Welcome to the Hazbin Hotel. If you're here to check in." "We're not," the demon said, stepping forward. Vaggie moved in front of Charlie. "Back up." The demon sneered. "Or what?" Lucifer's grin disappeared. Not replaced with rage. Replaced with a flat, unimpressed look. He stepped slightly to the side, placing himself closer to Charlie without making a show of it. The demon's eyes flicked to him again. "Wait. Is that?" Lucifer lifted his chin. "Yes." The demon hesitated, then forced a laugh like he could bully his way out of fear. "Hell's gettin' weird," he said. "First heaven sends supplies, then Lucifer himself shows up to play house." Angel's voice came from the side, sharp and annoyed. "Can you assholes not? We're having a day." The second demon spat on the floor. "Shut up." Charlie's hands trembled slightly at her sides. She tried to keep her voice steady. "Please leave," Charlie said, still polite, but firmer now. The first demon stepped forward again, raising a hand like he was going to shove Vaggie aside. That was the moment my mood shifted. I didn't get angry often. I could be cheerful in a lot of situations. But when someone moved like they were about to hurt someone I cared about, the cheerfulness stopped. It didn't become drama. It became simple. "No." I stepped forward. The demons noticed me properly for the first time. Their expressions changed, confusion flickering, then unease. "Who the hell are you?" the first demon asked. I smiled faintly, not friendly. "Leave," I said calmly. The demon laughed, forced and loud. "Or what, buddy?" He took one more step. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't gesture dramatically. I simply decided. Their souls were erased. It was instant. Not a scream. Not a struggle. Their forms collapsed into nothing that mattered, dissolving like they had never existed. No blood. No gore. No lingering remains. The space they took up became empty. The lobby went dead silent. Charlie stared at the spot where they had been, mouth slightly open. Vaggie stood frozen, spear still raised, eyes wide. Husk's expression tightened, jaw working as if he wanted to say something and didn't know what. Angel Dust's usual humor was gone, replaced by a long stare, unsettled. Nifty peeked out from behind the chair, eyes huge. Lucifer blinked once. Then he let out a low whistle. "Well," Lucifer said, voice light but careful, "that was efficient." Charlie turned her head slowly toward me. "You," Charlie started, voice shaking. She swallowed. "You erased them." "Yes," I said plainly. Her eyes flickered with emotion, fear, and relief mixed together in a way that made her look younger for a second. "I didn't want anyone to get hurt," Charlie said quietly. "Neither did I replied. Vaggie lowered her spear a fraction, still tense. "You didn't have to do that," she said, voice tight. "You could have just moved them. Thrown them out." I looked at her. They were going to escalate. They came here to do damage. Lucifer tilted his head, studying me. His expression was neutral, but his eyes were alert. They weren't overlords, Lucifer said. Just idiots. Idiots still kill people, I replied. Charlie's hands clenched into fists. She took a breath, trying to steady herself. I don't want this place to be about fear, she said softly. I want people to choose to be better. I know, I said gently. She looked up at me, eyes wet. But, thank you, she said anyway, voice small. I nodded once. Lucifer stepped closer to Charlie, placing a hand lightly on her shoulder. She stiffened, then relaxed just a little when she realized he wasn't going to pull her into a big dramatic hug. You okay? Lucifer asked, voice quieter. Charlie nodded quickly. Yeah. I'm okay. Vaggie watched Lucifer's hand on Charlie's shoulder with a complicated expression, then looked away and exhaled. Husk muttered, this place is gonna get attention now. Angel snorted weakly. It already had attention. It's just, different attention. Alastair's smile sharpened. He hadn't moved during the whole thing. He looked entertained in a way that made my skin itch, but he still didn't speak. He simply watched Charlie, then Lucifer, then me, like he was collecting information. Charlie wiped her eyes quickly with the back of her hand, then straightened again, forcing herself back into motion. Okay, Charlie said, voice shaky but determined. Okay. We're fine. Everyone's fine. Lucifer's grin returned slowly, not as wide as before. See, he said, trying to lighten it, nothing to worry about. Just, maybe we invest in a better door. Charlie let out a small laugh despite herself. Yeah. I stayed near the entrance for a moment, listening to the hotel settle back into sound. The tension didn't vanish, but it shifted. People moved again. Husk returned to the bar, though slower. Angel leaned against the counter, still watching me like he didn't know what category to put me in. Nifty resumed cleaning with shaky energy. Charlie looked at me again, calmer now. So, she said carefully, what happens now? I softened my expression. Now you keep running your hotel. She nodded. Lucifer lifted his hands. And now I'm helping, he added quickly, like he wanted to make sure the moment didn't turn into a lecture. Front desk, remember? Charlie gave him a look. Front desk. Lucifer saluted playfully. Front desk. I exhaled quietly. The cheerfulness returned in a small way, the serious edge easing back. Not gone. Just, managed. I glanced toward the stairs, where Alastair still stood, smile fixed, eyes bright. He inclined his head slightly, like he was acknowledging an interesting move. I didn't respond to that. Charlie took another breath, then turned back toward the lobby, lifting her clipboard again like it was armor. Okay, she said, voice steadier. Let's get back to work. Lucifer followed her with a bounce in his step, already talking too loudly about improving the hotel's branding, and Charlie was already trying to redirect him without starting a fight. Vaggie watched them for a moment, then glanced at me. Thanks, she said stiffly, not warm but not hostile. I nodded. You're welcome. The hotel stayed standing, the lobby lights still flickering like they had no idea what had just happened. And hell outside kept making noise like nothing had changed. Chapter 6, Workday with Witnesses. Charlie picked up her clipboard again like it was the only thing keeping the lobby from falling apart. Okay, she said, voice steadier than her hands. Let's get back to work. Lucifer trailed after her with a spring in his step, his grin already returning to full strength, like he could out-talk the memory of what had just happened. Work, Lucifer repeated brightly. Love work. Big fan. I do it constantly. I'm basically the king of work. You are literally the king, Angel said from the side, tone half amused and half wary. Lucifer snapped his fingers toward Angel in a finger gun gesture. Exactly. Vaggy's eyes narrowed. Don't encourage him. Husk put his glass down a little harder than necessary. Can we all just keep it down? I'm trying to pretend this is a normal bar. Nifty zipped by with her feather duster, still a little shaky, but trying hard to look enthusiastic. Normal. Nifty chirped. Yes. Very normal. The door got smashed, 3 guys disappeared, and now the boss's dad is here. Charlie winced. Nifty. Nifty smiled brightly and kept dusting like she hadn't said anything strange. I stayed near the entrance, looking at the empty spot on the floor where those demons had been. It wasn't that I felt guilty. I didn't. They had come to hurt people. They had stepped into a line they didn't understand. That was on them. But I could feel how the room had changed. Everyone had seen it. No one could unsee it. Charlie was trying to keep the hotel's mood from turning into fear. That mattered. If the place became the building where God erases you, she'd lose half her mission immediately. People didn't choose redemption when they felt hunted. So I took a breath, shifted my posture, and made myself look less like an event. I walked toward the front desk at a normal pace. Charlie glanced up at me as I approached. She tried to smile. It came out small but sincere. Are you staying? She asked quietly. For the rest of today, I replied. I'll keep things calm. Her shoulders loosened a fraction. Thank you. Lucifer leaned an elbow on the desk like he belonged there, which was going to become a theme whether Charlie liked it or not. See, Lucifer said cheerfully, we've got security. We've got supplies. We've got me. Charlie's eyes widened. Dad, please don't. Lucifer held up both hands. I'm kidding. Mostly. I'm here to help, remember. Charlie nodded quickly. Okay. Front desk. Lucifer placed a hand to his chest like he was being honored. Front desk. Vaggy hovered behind Charlie like a guard dog who didn't trust the mailman. Her gaze kept flicking between Lucifer and the door. You sure you're okay? Vaggy asked Charlie, voice low. Charlie nodded again, too fast. Yep. I'm good. I'm good. Her smile flickered. Lucifer watched her carefully, grin still on, but his eyes narrowing slightly in focus. I rested my hands lightly on the counter, leaning in just enough to speak quietly. Charlie, I said. You don't have to force it. She blinked. Force what? Being fine, I said simply. Her face tightened, then softened. She swallowed. Charlie started, then stopped, then took a breath. I don't want everyone to freak out. I won't do that again in the lobby, I said calmly. Her eyes snapped to mine. You won't? No, I said. Not unless someone is going to hurt you. If it's just trouble, we handle it in a smaller way. Charlie nodded slowly. Okay. Lucifer leaned closer, lowering his voice like he was trying to be part of the serious conversation without making it weird. If anyone shows up, I can scare them, Lucifer said lightly. Like a dad. A supportive dad. Charlie gave him a look that tried to be stern and ended up looking tired. Dad, she said, softer than before. Lucifer straightened, still smiling, but he stopped talking for a second. He reached up and adjusted his hat, then let his hand drop. Okay, he said. I'll follow your lead. That got Charlie to blink like she wasn't sure she heard him right. Thank you, Charlie said quietly. Lucifer winked. Don't make it weird. Angel leaned against a nearby pillar, arms crossed, watching the whole thing with open curiosity. This is nuts, Angel said, voice lower than usual. Like, I've had weird days, but this. Husk shot him a look. Don't say anything that'll make it worse. Angel held up his hands. I'm being quiet. For me. That's huge. Nifty zipped up to Lucifer, eyes bright again, apparently deciding fear was less fun than excitement. Hi, Mr. Lucifer. Nifty said happily. Do you like cleaning? Because I love cleaning. Lucifer smiled wide. I respect your passion. Nifty gasped. Thank you. Charlie never respects my passion. Charlie made a pained face. I do respect it. Nifty looked unconvinced and zoomed away. The lobby slowly regained its usual noise. Not fully. People still glanced at me. Angel kept sneaking looks. Husk kept pretending he wasn't paying attention. Vaggie stayed tense. Alastair remained near the stairs, smile fixed, eyes bright, head angled slightly like he was listening even when no one spoke. I noticed him noticing everything, which was very on brand. Charlie cleared her throat and flipped her clipboard to a new page. Okay, she said, regaining her manager voice. We have chores, and we have guest outreach, and we have maybe we should do a short meeting. Husk groaned. Please don't. Charlie winced. Not a long one. Angel grinned. If it's long, I'm leaving. You already live here, Vaggie said flatly. Angel shrugged. Details. Charlie turned toward me, hesitant. Do you want to say anything? I thought about it for a second. My instinct was to keep it simple. No speeches. No big emotional statements. Just clarity. I nodded once. I stepped slightly to the side so I wasn't blocking the desk, then addressed the room in a normal voice. Today is a normal workday, I said calmly. If someone tries to start trouble, you tell me. You don't escalate it yourselves unless you have to. This place is about choices. That still matters. Charlie's shoulders eased. Vaggie nodded once, sharp and approving. Husk looked like he didn't want to admit he felt better hearing it. Angel whistled quietly. Okay. That's surprisingly reasonable. Lucifer lifted his hands. I'm also reasonable. Vaggie stared at him. Lucifer coughed lightly. Sometimes. Charlie exhaled, then clapped her hands once, brisk. Okay, Charlie said. Let's do a quick lobby cleanup, and then I'll do front desk with Dad. Vaggie, can you check the upstairs rooms? Husk, can you? Husk raised a hand. Var. Charlie nodded quickly. Var. Angel, please don't harass anyone who comes in. Angel pressed a hand to his chest. I am deeply offended by the implication that I harass. Vaggie pointed at him. You do. Angel sighed. Fine. I'll harass less. Charlie looked at me last, expression gentle. And you can just be here. I can do that, I replied. The task started. It was awkward at first, like everyone was acting in front of an audience they didn't ask for. But hell had a way of forcing routine back into place. People needed to do something with their hands. Motion became comfort. I stayed near the lobby, shifting only when needed. When a loose floorboard threatened to trip Nifty, I nudged it into place with my foot. When the chandelier flickered hard enough to dim the room, I adjusted it subtly so it steadied without turning into a brand new, suspiciously perfect chandelier. Charlie didn't need that kind of attention. Lucifer tried to help at the front desk and immediately turned it into a performance. A demon came in, hesitant, glancing around like he expected to be laughed out of the building. Charlie stepped forward with her practiced smile. "Hi," Charlie said warmly. "Welcome. Are you here to check in or just ask questions?" The demon glanced at Lucifer, froze, then looked back at Charlie. "Is that?" Lucifer leaned over the counter with a grin. "Yes." The demon took a step back. Charlie cleared her throat fast. "This is my dad," she said, trying to sound normal. "He's helping." Lucifer waved. "Helping?" The demon's eyes darted toward me then, and his face drained. "And that's?" Charlie's smile tightened. "That's also help." The demon swallowed. I stepped forward just enough to make my presence less mysterious. "You're safe," I said calmly. "If you want to talk to Charlie, talk to her." Charlie shot me a grateful look, then turned back to the demon. "We can do a tour," Charlie offered, voice gentle. "No pressure." The demon hesitated, then nodded slowly. Charlie led him deeper into the lobby, pointing out the sitting area and the stairs. Lucifer leaned over the desk, watching her like he was trying to act casual and failing. Vaggie passed by, pausing long enough to murmur to Charlie, "Text me if you need me," in a tone that implied she'd sprint through walls if necessary. Husk stayed at the bar, pouring a drink for himself that he didn't drink yet, just held, watching. Angel sat on the couch again, pretending to lounge while his eyes tracked every movement. Alastair remained near the stairs, still smiling, still silent. His gaze followed the guest, then Charlie, then Lucifer, then me. I didn't like how curious he looked, but there was nothing actionable there yet. The day moved slowly. More demons came. Some just stared and left. Some asked questions. Charlie answered everyone with patience. Lucifer tried to keep his help from turning into control. He did better than I expected, though he kept slipping in little comments like he couldn't resist. At one point, Charlie left the desk to show a guest a room upstairs. Lucifer stayed behind at the desk, tapping a pen against the counter, humming. He noticed me watching and grinned. "Look at me," Lucifer said, voice light. "Being supportive." "Good job," I replied. He laughed quietly. That felt sarcastic. "It wasn't," I said. "It's just strange." Lucifer's grin softened. "Yet." He tapped the pen again, then looked toward the door. "I'm not staying forever," he said, still casual, but there was a small seriousness in his eyes. "I'm not going to hover." "I know," I replied. "But I can show up," Lucifer continued. "Sometimes. If she wants." "She does," I said. Lucifer's eyebrows lifted. "She told you that?" "I can tell," I replied. Lucifer leaned back, folding his arms. "You're annoying." "Thanks," I said happily. He snorted, then glanced toward the staircase again. A little later, Charlie returned, looking relieved. "That went okay," Charlie said, exhaling. He didn't sign up yet, but he didn't laugh at me. "That's progress," I said. Charlie nodded, then paused like she remembered something. She said, quieter. "Can I ask about earlier?" I kept my posture relaxed. "Sure." Charlie's voice was careful. "When you erased them, are they gone?" "Yes," I said plainly. Charlie flinched, then nodded slowly, swallowing hard. "I don't want to think about that happening to anyone who's trying," Charlie said quietly. "Even if they've done bad stuff. That's the whole point." "I know," I said. Charlie looked down, fingers tightening around her clipboard. She started, then stopped, then took a breath. I don't want the hotel to be protected by fear. It won't be, I said calmly. You set the tone. Not me. Not Lucifer. Lucifer lifted a hand. Hey. I'm part of the tone. Charlie gave him a look. Dad. Lucifer smiled wide. I'm kidding. Charlie's expression softened anyway. She looked tired, but not crushed. That mattered. I stayed until the hotel's lobby lights dimmed slightly with the shift toward Hell's version of evening. The foot traffic slowed. The guests who had come just to stare drifted away. Charlie sat behind the desk for a moment, shoulders sagging, rubbing her temples. Vaggie came down the stairs, posture still protective. You need to eat, Vaggie told Charlie. Charlie blinked. I did eat. You had a cracker, Vaggie said flatly. Charlie's cheeks reddened. It was 2 crackers. Husk leaned on the bar. That's not food. Angel smirked. I can make food. Husk pointed at him. No. Nifty zipped by with a plate piled with something that looked like it came from the supply crates I'd brought earlier. Food. Nifty announced, shoving it toward Charlie. Charlie laughed softly, grateful, and accepted it. I watched them for a moment, then felt the pull of responsibility again. I needed to report. Not because I wanted permission, but because Sierra and Emily needed to know what was happening in real time, and the Speaker of God needed to adjust the bureaucracy before it tried to crush the hotel with paperwork. I stepped toward Charlie. I'm going to head back up for a short check-in, I said. Charlie's eyes widened slightly. To heaven. Yes, I replied. I'll come back. Charlie nodded quickly. Okay. Thank you. For today. You're welcome, I said. Lucifer lifted 2 fingers in a casual salute. Don't let them bore you up there. I'll try, I replied. Vaggie watched me like she wanted to ask a dozen questions and refused to. She just nodded once. I opened the way and stepped through. Heaven's air was clean enough to feel sharp after hell. My shoulders loosened automatically. The light was steady. The silence was deep. Emily found me first. She approached quickly, wings fluttering once before settling. There you are, Emily said, voice bright but concerned. I felt the shift. Something happened. I figured you would, I replied. She looked up at me, eyes wide. Is Charlie okay? She's okay, I said. Shaken, but okay. Emily exhaled, relief showing in her face. Good. Sierra arrived a moment later, composed and controlled, but her eyes were immediately searching. Report, Sierra said quietly. I nodded. Lucifer went to the hotel to help Charlie. Sierra's expression tightened. He did. Yes, I said. He behaved. Emily looked excited and nervous at the same time. He actually showed up. He did, I confirmed. Sierra's jaw set. And the hotel remains stable. It does, I said. There was an incident. 3 demons came to cause trouble. Emily's face fell. What happened? They were going to escalate, I said. I erased them. Emily went still, eyes widening. She didn't look angry. She looked startled and sad. Oh, Emily said quietly. Sierra's gaze sharpened. You erased them completely. Yes, I said. Sierra held my gaze, then nodded once. Understood. Emily swallowed. Did Charlie see? Yes, I replied. So did everyone in the lobby. Emily looked down, hands clasping together tightly. That's A lot for her. It is, I agreed. I told her I won't do it in the hotel again unless someone is about to hurt her. Sierra's eyes narrowed slightly. A limitation. A practical one, I said. She needs to build trust. Not fear. Emily nodded quickly, grateful for that. Sierra's posture stayed rigid, but her voice softened a fraction. Lucifer's presence complicates political balance. I know, I said. But he's her father. And he showed up to help, not to interfere. Emily looked up at Sierra. It could help her, Emily said quietly. Sierra didn't argue. She just looked tired for a moment, then regained her structure. I will adjust our internal posture, Sierra said. No direct interference. No contact that undermines Charlie's leadership. Good, I said. I turned slightly, gesturing toward the central administrative hall. I also need to speak to the speaker, I said. Emily nodded. She's been hovering. That sounds like her, I replied. We walked. The speaker of God was in her office, surrounded by stacked documents and glowing reports. She looked up as we entered, eyes flicking to me first, then to Sierra, then to Emily. My lord, she said, voice steady, but her face softening. You're back already? Short trip, I replied. She stood. Updates. I nodded. Emily returned to heaven. Lucifer went to the hotel to support Charlie. There was a minor attack in the lobby. I removed the attackers. The speaker's expression tightened. Not disapproval, but concern. In the lobby, she repeated quietly. Yes, I said. Charlie witnessed it. Emily's eyes lowered again. The speaker exhaled slowly. Then we need to be careful about how heaven is perceived. If the hotel becomes associated with divine punishment. It won't, I said. We keep heaven from hovering over it. No constant presence. Support stays practical. Supplies. Information. Emily can visit, but not camp there. Emily opened her mouth, then nodded, accepting it. Sierra spoke, voice controlled. We will formalize this as policy. Minimal visibility. No overt enforcement. The speaker nodded quickly, already thinking in lists. I will draft it. I leaned slightly against the edge of her desk, casual. Also, I added, keep any overzealous administrators from flooding Charlie with procedures. She needs freedom to run it. The speaker's lips twitched faintly. Heaven loves procedures. I know, I said. That's why I'm telling you. Emily looked at me, then at the speaker, then back again, clearly trying to hold excitement and worry at the same time. Can I go back soon? Emily asked gently. Yes, I said. But not tonight. Let Charlie breathe. Emily nodded, disappointed but understanding. Sierra's gaze stayed on me. Will you return to hell now? In a bit, I said. I wanted this handled first. The speaker's expression softened again, the way it always did when the moment became less about rules and more about people. I'm glad you're here, she said quietly. I smiled at her. Me too. She blinked, then nodded once, visibly steadying herself. I will prepare the support framework, the speaker said. And I will ensure no one treats the hotel like an extension of heaven's courts. Perfect, I replied. Emily shifted slightly, wings fluttering once with contained energy. I'll wait, Emily said, trying to sound patient. Sierra gave her a measured look. You will. Emily sighed. Yes. I pushed off the desk and straightened. All right, I said. That's enough paperwork talk for one night. The speaker looked like she wanted to protest that it wasn't night in heaven, then let it go. I turned toward the door, already feeling hell's noise waiting on the other side of my next step. Chapter 7, Limits that Actually Help. I stood outside the speaker's office for a moment after we left, letting the hallway's quiet settle around me. Heaven's administrative wing always smelled faintly like paper and polish. Not because the materials needed it, but because someone had decided that order should have a scent. I could hear distant footsteps, soft wing beats, low conversation behind closed doors. Nobody rushed. Heaven never rushed unless it was panicking, and it hadn't reached that stage yet. Emily lingered beside me, hands clasped in front of her, wings tucked tight like she was trying to keep herself from bouncing. Her eyes were fixed on me, wide and earnest. I didn't need her to say anything to know what she wanted. "You want to go back," I said simply. Emily nodded fast. "Yes." "And you want to go back right now," I added. Emily's mouth opened, then closed. She nodded slower, like she didn't want to admit she was impatient. "Yes," she said quietly. I smiled, not teasing. "I get it." Her shoulders loosened. "I don't want to mess it up," she said honestly. "But I also don't want to just sit here while she's down there doing it alone." "She's not alone," I said. "Vaggy's there. The staff's there. Lucifer is there, surprisingly." Emily's eyebrows lifted. "You keep saying surprisingly." "It is surprising," I replied. Emily exhaled, then nodded. "Okay." I turned and started walking down the hall at an easy pace. Emily fell in beside me, matching my stride. She kept glancing up like she wanted to talk and was trying to decide how. I didn't mind. Emily wasn't difficult. She was sincere. The hard part was that she was sincere in a place that trained sincerity out of people. We reached a small side room used for short private meetings. There were chairs, a simple table, a window looking out over bright clouds. No officials. No scribes. The door closed behind us with a soft click. Emily stood for a second instead of sitting, like she was ready to start defending herself before anyone accused her of anything. I gestured toward the chairs. "Sit." Emily sat immediately, hands on her knees, posture attentive. She looked like she was ready for a lesson, which was both sweet and a little worrying. I sat across from her, leaning back slightly, keeping my tone light. "This isn't a scolding," I said. Emily's shoulders dropped. "Okay. It's just guidance," I continued. "Because you're going to be helpful, and heaven tends to ruin helpful things by overdoing them." Emily nodded quickly. "Yes." I watched her for a moment. She held my gaze, earnest. I could see the part of her that had been happy at the hotel. The part that liked the mess. The part that liked people being weird and loud and honest. "You like them," I said. Emily blinked. "Yes." "You like Charlie." Emily smiled, small and bright. "Yes." "That's good," I said. "So here's the problem. When someone you like is doing something hard, your instinct is to fix it for them." Emily's smile faded slightly, like she recognized herself. "I know," she said softly. "I do that." "You do," I agreed. "And if you do it with Charlie, it will hurt her project." Emily looked pained. "I don't want to hurt it." "I know," I said again. "So we set limits." Emily took a slow breath. "What kind of limits?" I held up a finger. "First, you don't become the hotel's authority." Emily nodded fast. "Okay." "You don't stand in the lobby like a guard," I continued. "You don't correct staff. You don't tell guests what heaven wants. You don't talk like you're the judge." Emily's eyes widened a little. I wouldn't. You might, I said calmly. Not on purpose. But you come from a place where rules are air. You'll start saying things like, in heaven we do it this way, and you'll think you're being helpful, and all they'll hear is heaven is watching. Emily pressed her lips together and nodded, absorbing it. Second, I said, you let Charlie lead even when she's nervous. Emily's brow furrowed. But what if she makes a mistake? She will, I said. Emily flinched. But. And she needs to, I added. Emily stared at me for a moment, then nodded slowly. She needs to figure out what works in hell, I said. Not what heaven would approve of. Emily's hands tightened on her knees. Okay. Third, I said, you do not make promises heaven can't keep. Emily blinked. Like what? Like telling anyone they're guaranteed redemption, I said. Or telling them heaven will protect them forever. Or telling them exterminations are gone forever. Emily's face tightened. But they are stopped. They are stopped now, I corrected gently. And I intend to keep it that way. But you don't build trust by overpromising. You build it by doing what you actually can, repeatedly. Emily nodded, slower. Okay. I leaned forward a little, elbows resting on the chair arms. Here's what you can do, I said. You can listen. You can be kind without being naive. You can help with supplies. You can make the guests feel like they're not being mocked. Emily's eyes brightened slightly. I can do that. You can also step in if someone is about to hurt Charlie, I added, voice calm but serious. Not if someone is rude. Not if someone insults her. If it's danger. Emily's posture straightened. Yes. And if you step in, I said, you step in cleanly. Quickly. You don't make it a show. You don't make it about heaven's power. Emily nodded firmly. Yes. I watched her for a second. She looked determined, like she wanted to do it exactly right. That was good, but it could also become its own problem. Emily, I said. Yes, she replied immediately. You don't have to be perfect, I said. She blinked, then her face softened. Okay. I smiled faintly. Just consistent. Emily let out a small breath, like she'd been holding air in her chest without realizing. Can I ask you something? She said carefully. Sure. Emily hesitated. When you erased those demons, was there any other way? I didn't react defensively. I didn't need to. I just answered. There were other ways, I said. But they were going to escalate, and the hotel was going to become a target if it looked weak in that moment. I chose the fastest way to stop the threat. Emily's eyes lowered. It scared them. It did, I said. Emily looked up again. It scared Charlie. I know, I replied. That's why I'm not doing it like that again in the lobby unless it's unavoidable. Emily nodded slowly. Okay. She fidgeted with her fingers, then looked up again, a little shy. Do you trust Lucifer? Emily asked. I gave a short laugh, not mocking. Trust is a big word. Emily smiled a little. Yet. I trust him to care about Charlie, I said. I trust him to be himself, which is complicated. I trust him to be charming even when it's unhelpful. I don't trust him to always read the room. Emily's smile widened slightly. That sounds like him. It is him, I said. So if he's at the hotel, you don't compete with him. You don't try to counter him. You let Charlie handle him as her dad. If you need to step in, it's only if he's actively harming her. Emily nodded, thoughtful. Okay. I stood, ending the meeting without stretching it into something bigger than it needed to be. "All right," I said. "That's enough coaching." Emily stood too, "Quick. So I can go back tomorrow," she said, hopeful. "Yes," I replied. "And you'll go with a plan?" Emily nodded, then hesitated. "Can I write it down?" I smiled. "If you want." Emily brightened, then caught herself and tried to look composed again. She failed. It was fine. We left the room and walked back into the main corridor. Emily's energy was a little more contained now. Not gone, but directed. At a junction, Sira appeared, stepping out from another office. She looked at Emily first, then at me. "You spoke with her," Sira said. "I did," I replied. Emily nodded quickly. "I understand the limits." Sira's eyes narrowed slightly. "Do you?" Emily met her gaze, earnest. "Yes." Sira studied her for a moment, then gave a small nod. "Good," Sira said, voice controlled. "Heaven cannot afford to appear unstable." Emily opened her mouth, then closed it, then nodded again. "Yes." I watched the exchange, then looked back at Sira. "I'm going back down tonight," I said. Sira's posture tightened. "To the hotel?" "Yes," I replied. Briefly. Sira's expression didn't change much, but there was a flicker of something like concern. "Be careful," she said. "I will," I replied. Emily looked up at me. "Tell Charlie I said hi," she said quickly. "And that I'll be back." "I will," I said. Emily hesitated, then stepped forward and gave me a quick hug. It was fast, impulsive, and she seemed to realize it halfway through. "Sorry," Emily said immediately, stepping back, cheeks faintly pink. "It's fine," I said easily. She smiled, relieved. I turned and left them there, heading toward the gate again. Heaven opened without resistance, and hell received me with heat and noise. I stepped out onto the street near the Hazbin Hotel, the sign glowing against the red sky. The doors were still open. That was either bravery or lack of common sense. In Charlie's case, it was usually both. Inside, the lobby looked calmer than before, but not relaxed. The air carried the aftertaste of an incident people were trying not to talk about too loudly. Husk was behind the bar, arms folded, staring into space like he was doing math he didn't want to do. Angel was sitting on the couch, legs stretched out, pretending to lounge while his eyes tracked every movement near the door. Nifty was cleaning the same patch of floor repeatedly, like scrubbing harder might erase memory. Charlie was behind the desk again, hair slightly mussed, cheeks tired. She looked up when she saw me and offered a smile that came easier than before. "Hi," Charlie said warmly. "You came back." "I said I would," I replied. Vaggie stood beside the desk, posture still protective, but she didn't look like she was about to stab anyone at this exact second. That was progress. "Everything okay?" I asked. Charlie nodded. "Yeah. Mostly." Her eyes flicked toward the side hall. Lucifer stepped out a moment later, carrying a stack of papers like he had decided he was going to be useful in the most dramatic possible way. "These forms are ridiculous," Lucifer announced cheerfully. "Who designed this? It's like you want people to fail at paperwork." Charlie's shoulders lifted slightly. "I designed them." Lucifer froze. Charlie stared at him. Lucifer's grin widened. "They're great." Charlie sighed. "Dad." Lucifer walked toward us, then noticed me fully and brightened. "Hey," Lucifer said, tone friendly. "You're back again. You really like this place?" "I like checking on it," I replied. He leaned in slightly, voice lower, still casual. Nothing else weird happened while you were gone? No, I said. Quiet. Lucifer nodded, satisfied. Good. Charlie looked between us, still not fully used to the idea of us talking like this. So, Charlie said carefully, how was heaven? Bureaucratic, I replied. Husk snorted quietly from behind the bar. Shocking. Charlie smiled faintly, then hesitated. Emily, she left fast. She had to report, I said. She'll be back tomorrow. Charlie's face softened. Okay. Good. I stepped closer to the desk, lowering my voice so it felt private without being secretive. I talked to Emily, I told Charlie. About how to help without overwhelming you. Charlie blinked. You did? Yes, I said. Charlie's shoulders loosened. Thank you. Vaggy's gaze sharpened. You told her not to control things. Yes, I replied. Vaggy nodded once, satisfied. Lucifer leaned on the counter again, peering at Charlie. So what's the plan for tonight? We doing dinner? We doing a meeting? We doing a motivational poster session? Charlie grimaced. No meetings. Angel lifted a hand from the couch. Thank you. Charlie continued, just, dinner. And then everyone can rest. Nifty zipped past with a tray of supplies. Dinner, she said brightly. I can set the table. Husk muttered, we don't have a table big enough. Nifty didn't care. She was already moving chairs. Lucifer clapped his hands once. I can cook. Husk stared. No. Lucifer's grin widened. Yes. Husk's expression didn't change. No. Charlie raised both hands quickly. Okay, okay. Maybe. Dad can help me cook. Vaggy's eyes narrowed. Supervised. Charlie nodded. Supervised. Lucifer placed a hand over his heart. I am deeply offended. No, you're not, Charlie said, tired but smiling. Lucifer winked at her. Correct. I stayed for dinner prep, not because I needed to eat, but because my presence kept the room from spiraling. People acted like themselves more when they weren't alone with the memory of what had happened. Charlie and Lucifer moved into the kitchen together. Vaggy followed like a shadow. I could hear Charlie giving instructions, voice patient, and Lucifer responding with jokes that were just barely restrained enough to count as cooperation. Angel drifted toward the kitchen doorway, leaning against the frame. So Angel said loudly, what's on the menu? Forgiveness stew. Redemption salad. Charlie's voice floated out, a little exasperated. Angel. Lucifer's voice followed, amused. Actually, redemption salad sounds fantastic. Husk called from the bar, nobody wants salad. Lucifer replied, you're wrong. Husk grumbled something under his breath. I walked toward the kitchen doorway and glanced in. Charlie was at the counter chopping vegetables from the supply crate, focused. Lucifer stood beside her, sleeves rolled up, actually helping. He was doing it with exaggerated flourish, but his hands were steady. Vaggy stood on the other side, arms crossed, watching Lucifer's knife work like she was prepared to intervene. Charlie looked up when she saw me. You're really staying tonight, Charlie said, tone surprised but pleased. Just for the evening, I replied. Then I'll head back up. Charlie nodded. Okay. Lucifer glanced at me, grin easy. Heaven's very needy, hey. They are, I said. Lucifer chuckled. I remember. Charlie's knife paused for half a second at that, then resumed. She didn't comment. She just listened. Vaggie watched Charlie's face closely. Her posture softened a fraction when she saw Charlie wasn't spiraling. Dinner was imperfect. The hotel's kitchen wasn't designed for large meals. Nifty kept trying to rearrange plates. Angel complained loudly, then ate anyway. Husk pretended he didn't care and took seconds. Charlie relaxed a little when she saw people actually sitting together without fighting. Lucifer played it up, acting like the meal was a grand event, but he kept his jokes light. He didn't push Charlie into a conversation she wasn't ready for. That alone told me he was trying. After dinner, the lobby quieted again. Lights flickered gently. Charlie yawned and covered her mouth, embarrassed. "Go rest," Vaggie said, firm. Charlie protested weakly. "I have things to do." "You have sleep to do," Vaggie replied. Charlie sighed. "Okay." Lucifer stood, stretching. "I'll head out too." Charlie blinked. "Already?" Lucifer's grin softened. "I said I'd help. I didn't say I'd live here. You need space." Charlie's expression warmed. "Okay." Vaggie looked slightly surprised by his restraint, then quickly hid it. Lucifer adjusted his hat and glanced at me. "You coming?" Lucifer asked casually. "In a minute," I replied. Lucifer nodded, then looked back at Charlie. "Good night, Char-Char," he said, voice light. Charlie smiled. "Good night, Dad." He left with a casual wave, and the lobby watched him go like they weren't sure what category to put him in yet. Charlie disappeared upstairs with Vaggie close behind. Angel wandered off to his room. Husk cleaned up slowly. Nifty kept tidying like she was powered by something other than sleep. I stayed a little longer, standing near the entrance, listening to the hotel settle into quiet. Then I opened the way back to heaven. The clean air hit me again. The silence returned. Heaven's light was steady. Emily wasn't waiting by the gate this time. She was in a small lounge space nearby, sitting with her legs tucked under her, a notebook open in her lap. She looked up immediately when she saw me, eyes bright. "You went back," Emily said quickly. "I did," I replied. She stood fast. "How is she?" "Charlie's tired," I said. "But okay." Lucifer helped. He left without causing a scene. Emily's face lit up. "Really? Really?" I said. Emily hugged her notebook to her chest. "Did you tell her I'll be back?" "Yes," I replied. She was happy. Emily smiled so wide it looked like it might split her face. She tried to calm down and failed. "Okay," Emily said quickly. "Okay. So. I wrote down what you said. Limits." She flipped the notebook open and held it up, almost shoving it toward me. I leaned in and read it without mocking her. It was neat. Straightforward. A little too strict, like she was afraid to breathe wrong, but it was better than chaos. Not authority. Let Charlie lead. No promises. Step in only for danger. No speeches. Listen first. Ask Charlie before doing anything big. I nodded. Good. Emily exhaled like she'd been holding her breath for approval. "Can I add something?" she asked. "Sure," I replied. Emily hesitated, then spoke carefully. "If Charlie asks me for help with something, like a task, I can do it, right?" "Yes," I said. "If she asks." Emily nodded fast. "Okay." She stared down at the notebook, then up again, more serious. "And if I mess up," Emily asked quietly, "you'll tell me?" "Yes," I replied immediately. Emily's shoulders loosened. "Okay." I looked at her for a moment, then kept it simple. Tomorrow, I said, you go back. You arrive like a friend, not an inspector. Emily nodded firmly. Friend. And you watch Lucifer, I added, tone light. Emily blinked. Watch Lucifer. Not like a guard, I clarified. Just, be aware. If he starts taking over, you don't fight him. You tell Charlie. Emily nodded slowly. Okay. Tell Charlie. Good, I said. Emily smiled again, calmer now. I turned slightly, glancing down the corridor where the administrative wing sat. There would be more meetings. More rules. More people trying to make this tidy. But for tonight, Emily had a plan, Charlie had space, and the hotel had survived a day that could have broken it. Emily looked at me, eyes bright again. Can I go get some sleep? Yes, I replied, amused. Go. Emily nodded quickly and practically skipped away, notebook tucked under her arm like it was precious. I stayed where I was for a moment, listening to heaven's quiet, already thinking through what tomorrow would look like in hell. Chapter 8, Rumors first, then company. Heaven stayed quiet when I woke up. The light was steady, the air clean, and the halls were already busy in the background in the way they always were. Angels moved with purpose that looked calm from the outside and felt frantic up close. Paperwork, reports, small problems treated like they were life or death because heaven didn't have many real emergencies it admitted to. I stretched once, rolled my shoulders, and started walking. Emily had gone to sleep with her notebook hugged to her chest. I'd made sure she actually left the lounge instead of talking herself into staying up all night to be ready. She meant well. She also didn't know when to stop. Today, she was going back to the hotel. Before that, I wanted to see what was happening in hell without her attached to it. Emily showing up again would draw eyes. It always did when heaven stepped into hell's space, even gently. I needed to know what kind of talk was spreading after yesterday's incident. So I opened the way and stepped down alone. The heat hit first. The smell followed. The noise was already there, like hell had never paused between days. I walked out into a street a few blocks away from the hotel, not directly in front of it. I didn't want to look like I was guarding it. Charlie needed to run her place like it was hers, not like it was a heavenly outpost. People noticed me anyway. Demons didn't look away fast enough. Conversations stopped mid-sentence. A group on the corner went quiet, then pretended they hadn't been staring as I passed. I kept my pace easy. Hands in my pockets. Shoulders relaxed. I let my face sit in a mild, neutral expression, the kind that didn't invite challenge and didn't broadcast threat. Still, the rumor in the air was obvious. It wasn't the kind where you had to dig. Hell carried news like smoke. Yesterday, 3 demons had walked into a bright, hopeful building and had not walked out. No bodies. No blood. Just absence. That kind of thing made people talk. I headed toward a small bar tucked under a crooked sign. Not Husk's Bar. A different one. This place had sticky floors and a bored bartender who looked like he'd been carved out of irritation. I stepped inside. The room quieted immediately. Not completely. Just enough. The bartender squinted at me. We don't serve angels. I'm not here for a drink, I said cheerfully. That did not make him look happier. I walked to the counter anyway and rested my forearms on it. What are people saying about the hotel? The bartender's eyes flicked over me like he was trying to decide if answering would get him killed. I don't know, he said. I smiled politely. Yes, you do. He stared. You're not threatening me. I'm not, I said. I'm asking. A demon at a nearby table muttered, that's him. Another hissed back, shut up. I glanced toward them without turning my whole head. You can talk. I'm not going to erase you for gossip. That made a few faces shift. Nervous laughter showed in the corner of the room, quick and forced. The bartender finally exhaled. People say God showed up, he said flatly. People say you're walking around like it's your neighborhood. It is my neighborhood, I replied easily. He didn't laugh. They say you erased 3 guys, he continued. Like they never existed. Yes, I said. The bartender swallowed. They say the princess's hotel is protected now. Like you'll delete anyone who steps wrong. That's exaggerated, I said calmly. He raised his eyebrows. Is it? I kept my tone mild. I'm not interested in turning the hotel into a fear zone. I'm interested in keeping it from getting burned down. The bartender studied me, then snorted. That place gets attention. It always does. Overlords hate it. Random idiots love to test it. I know, I said. A demon at the table spoke up, voice shaky but curious. Is it true Lucifer was there too? Yes, I replied. That caused a ripple. One demon whispered, he's helping her. Another whispered, no way. A third muttered, he doesn't do helping. I turned my head a little more, addressing them casually. He does when it's his kid. A few demons looked away quickly. A few didn't. The table demon leaned forward. So what happens now? You just keep showing up. Not constantly, I said. The hotel has to stand on its own. I'm not interested in owning it. The bartender scoffed. Sure. I glanced at him. You don't have to believe me. He grunted. Hell's not big on belief. I nodded. Fair. I pushed off the counter. Anything else? The bartender hesitated, then jerked his chin toward the back of the bar. People are talking about who sent those idiots. Do you know? I asked. He shook his head. No. But if someone did send them, it was to test. See what kind of reaction they'd get. I nodded slowly. All right. I started to leave, then paused. Tell people this, I said, voice calm and plain. If they want to mock the hotel, fine. If they want to harass it, they'll get thrown out. If they want to hurt people inside it, that's different. Don't push it. The bartender stared at me. Is that a threat? It's a boundary, I replied. I stepped out into the street again. The rumor trail was thick enough now that I didn't need to keep asking. Hell was doing what it always did, turning a simple event into 10 different stories. Some would say I erased 100 demons. Some would say I did it with a glance. Some would say Charlie was now an untouchable princess backed by heaven and Lucifer. Some would say the hotel was cursed. None of that was helpful. I walked, listening. A pair of demons on a corner argued quietly. I'm telling you, they vanished, one said. No screams. Just gone. Maybe it was Alastair, the other replied. No, the first insisted. Alastair would make it a show. That one made me exhale softly through my nose. Accurate. I passed a newsstand with cheap papers hanging from wires. Headlines were nonsense, like they always were. One had a blurry sketch that vaguely resembled me, labeled Divine Invasion. Another showed Charlie with exaggerated angel wings added on, labeled Princess Sells Out. I kept walking. The Hazbin Hotel came into view, bright signs still glowing. The front doors were closed now. That was good. Not because the hotel should hide, but because having the doors wide open after yesterday was a little too optimistic even for Charlie. I didn't go in yet. I circled the block once, staying in the flow of people, watching who watched the hotel. A few loiterers stood too still, pretending to smoke, pretending not to stare. A couple demons pointed, whispering. Nothing looked like an immediate attack. More curiosity than planning. That was manageable. I headed back toward the spot where I'd opened the way down, then opened it again and returned to heaven. Emily was already waiting near the gate when I arrived, notebook in hand, hair smoothed down like she'd tried to look official and failed in a cute way. She stood straight anyway, chin up, eyes bright. "You're back," Emily said quickly. "Yes," I replied. She held the notebook up slightly. "I'm ready." I smiled. "Good." Emily's wings fluttered once. She stopped them immediately, then looked annoyed at herself. "Okay," Emily said, forcing calm. "Do we go now?" "We do," I replied. "One thing first." Emily blinked. "What?" "Remember you're going as a friend," I said lightly. "Not as a banner." Emily nodded firmly. "Friend. And if you feel like you want to start fixing everything," I added, "you breathe first." Emily's cheeks reddened. "Okay." I opened the way. We stepped into hell together. Emily reacted to the heat immediately, shoulders lifting slightly, then settling as she forced herself not to make a big deal out of it. She looked around with quick, curious eyes, then focused forward like she was practicing discipline. "You're doing good," I said quietly. Emily nodded, lips pressed together in determination. "I'm trying." As we walked, I noticed demons noticing her. They noticed her wings first. They noticed the way she moved. They noticed the fact she looked like heaven and did not look afraid. A few stepped aside. A few stared too long. Emily kept her gaze forward, but I saw small tension in her hands, fingers curling and uncurling like she was reminding herself she didn't have to do anything. We reached the hotel. The doors opened before we touched them. Charlie stood just inside, like she'd been waiting close enough to hear us approach. Her face lit up when she saw Emily. The tiredness didn't vanish, but the warmth was immediate. "Emily," Charlie said happily, stepping forward. Emily's control broke instantly into genuine excitement. She smiled wide, eyes bright, and moved closer with careful enthusiasm. "Hi," Emily said warmly. "I'm back." Charlie laughed softly, relief plain in her expression. "I'm so glad you're back." Emily's smile softened. "Me too." Vaggie appeared at Charlie's side, posture protective as always. Her eyes flicked to Emily, then to me, then to the street beyond the door. "Nothing weird followed you," Vaggie said, not a question. "Nothing followed," I replied. Vaggie nodded once, satisfied. Charlie stepped aside quickly, gesturing them in. "Come in, come in." Emily stepped into the lobby and looked around like she was taking it in with fresh eyes. Not judging. Just noticing. Nifty zipped out from behind a chair the moment she spotted Emily. "Emily!" Nifty squealed. "You're back. I missed you. I cleaned so much." Emily laughed, delighted. "Hi, Nifty." Nifty grabbed Emily's hand and shook it with frantic energy. "Your wings are still perfect." Emily smiled brightly. "Thank you." Husk watched from behind the bar, expression flat but eyes tracking. Angel Dust lounged on the couch again, legs crossed, smirk ready. "Well, look who's back," Angel said, voice playful. "Miss Sunshine." Emily blinked. "Hi." Angel tilted his head, amused by how straightforward she was. "You're really just nice." Emily nodded. "Yes." Angel laughed. "I respect it." Husk muttered, "Don't encourage anyone." Alastair was there, of course, near the stairs, smile fixed, eyes bright. He gave Emily a polite nod. Emily nodded back, cautious but friendly. Charlie looked at Emily with earnest intensity. "Are you okay? Did heaven?" Emily lifted her notebook slightly. "I made a plan," she said, proud. Charlie blinked. "A plan?" Emily nodded quickly. "To help without being too much." Charlie's face softened, almost emotional again. "That's really thoughtful." Emily smiled, then caught herself and took a small breath like she remembered the "don't overwhelm" rule. "I'm here to listen first," Emily said gently. Charlie nodded, grateful. I stayed a few steps back, near the entrance, letting them have the moment. Then Lucifer walked in from the side hall like he'd been there already, which he probably had. He looked bright and put together, hat perfect, grin ready, like he'd decided he could handle being supportive dad again today. He spotted Emily and paused for half a second, eyebrows lifting. "Well," Lucifer said cheerfully, "look at that. Heaven's back." Emily straightened, polite. "Hi, Lucifer." Lucifer blinked, then smiled wider. "Hi." Charlie's shoulders tensed slightly, then eased when she realized Lucifer wasn't about to start a fight. Lucifer looked toward me, grin turning knowing. "You bring friends now?" "Emily wanted to come back," I replied. Emily nodded quickly. "I did." Lucifer stepped closer to Charlie, not crowding her, just placing himself nearby in a way that said he was present and on her side. "So what's the schedule?" Lucifer asked brightly. "We doing tours? We doing group sessions? We doing the whole redemption thing?" Charlie exhaled, smiling a little. "We're doing breakfast." Husk raised a hand. "We're not." Charlie looked at him. "We are." Husk sighed. "Fine." Angel stretched dramatically. "Breakfast. Love breakfast. Big fan of food I don't pay for." Nifty zipped into motion immediately, already pulling out plates. Charlie looked at Emily. "Do you want to help with breakfast?" she asked. Emily hesitated, remembering. She looked at Charlie's face, then nodded carefully. "If you want me to." Charlie smiled. "I do." Emily relaxed, happy. Vaggie watched Emily like she was assessing whether Emily would accidentally start preaching. Emily didn't. She just followed Charlie into the kitchen with bright, contained energy. Lucifer started to follow too. Charlie turned her head. "Dad, you can." "I can help," Lucifer said quickly, grin wide. Vaggie cut in, flat. "Supervised?" Lucifer nodded instantly. "Obviously." He followed anyway. I stayed in the lobby with Husk and Angel for a moment. It was quieter without Charlie's voice filling the space. Angel leaned toward me, lowering his voice. "So like, you're really gonna keep coming here?" "Not constantly," I said. Angel squinted. "You say that a lot." "Because it's true," I replied. Husk set a glass down. "If you're not guarding it, someone's gonna try again." "I know," I said. Husk looked at me, blunt. "And you're not gonna do the erase thing again?" "Not in the lobby unless someone is about to get hurt," I said calmly. Husk's expression tightened. "So you'll let people get away with stuff?" "I'll let people be rude," I corrected. "I won't let them be violent." Angel whistled softly. "That's actually reasonable." Husk grunted. "Still hate it." "I know," I said. I glanced toward the kitchen doorway. I could hear Charlie talking, voice steady, giving instructions. I could hear Lucifer responding with jokes, but the jokes weren't sharp. They were more like noise he used to keep himself from getting too serious. Vaggie was there too, short replies, firm tone. Emily chimed in gently, asking where things went before touching anything. That was good. I stayed near the entrance, out of the way, watching the flow of the hotel without inserting myself into it. When a new demon approached the door and hesitated, I didn't speak first. Charlie stepped out from the kitchen, wiped her hands on a towel, and greeted them herself. Emily stood a little behind her, smiling softly, not looming. Lucifer hung back, actually trying, not to steal the moment. The demon's eyes flicked to me, then to Emily's wings, then back to Charlie. Is it safe? The demon asked quietly. Charlie nodded. Yes, she said warmly. It's safe. Emily added gently, we're here to help. The demon swallowed. Okay. Charlie smiled wider. Do you want a tour? The demon nodded again, and Charlie led them inside. That was how it needed to be. Not heaven declaring the hotel safe. Charlie making it safe. I stayed nearby anyway. Not hovering. Just present, like a quiet weight that discouraged the worst impulses outside. And I watched Emily keep to her limits, even when her excitement threatened to spill over. She asked Charlie before doing anything. She listened more than she spoke. When Angel tried to bait her with a joke, she smiled politely and didn't take it. When Husk grumbled, she didn't try to fix his attitude. She just left him space. Charlie noticed. I could see it in the way Charlie's shoulders lowered more often, in the way her smile became less forced. Lucifer noticed too. He didn't say it, but he watched Emily with a cautious respect, like he wasn't used to someone from heaven being kind without an agenda. By late morning, the lobby sounded like a hotel again. Not a battlefield. Not a courtroom. A messy, bright place where people moved around each other and tried. I leaned against the wall near the entrance, arms folded loosely, letting the noise exist. Emily walked past me at one point, carrying a small stack of towels. She stopped just long enough to whisper, "I'm doing it," with a proud smile, then kept walking before it could turn into a big moment. I smiled to myself and stayed where I was. Chapter 9, Quiet Questions, Clean Reports. The lobby had started to sound normal again. Not completely normal, because hell didn't really do normal, but close enough that Charlie's voice didn't shake every time the door creaked. Emily moved through the space like she belonged there without acting like she owned it. Lucifer stayed present without turning every second into a performance. Husk grumbled behind the bar. Angel talked too much. Nifty cleaned like the building would collapse if she stopped. I stayed near the entrance, arms loose at my sides, watching the flow. A demon wandered in, took one look at Emily's wings, and almost backed out immediately. Charlie caught it and stepped forward with her practiced smile, warm and steady. "Hey," Charlie said kindly. "It's okay. You can just look around." The demon hesitated. "You sure?" Charlie nodded. "I'm sure." Emily offered a small wave. "Not big. Not loud. Just friendly." The demon exhaled and came inside. That was how it should work. Charlie doing the inviting. Emily reinforcing the comfort. Me staying out of the center. Still, there was a pressure in the air outside the hotel that didn't come from the weather. Rumors. Questions. People testing boundaries with their eyes instead of their hands. Yesterday's 3 idiots hadn't been important, but the fact they'd been erased had become important. In hell, the truth wasn't what mattered. The story mattered. The story was already moving through the city, changing shape as it went. And I didn't like not knowing who had set the first domino up. I pushed off the wall and walked toward the front desk. Charlie looked up, noticing me immediately. She was good at that. She noticed everything she cared about. You okay? Charlie asked softly. I'm fine, I replied. I'm going to step out for a bit. Her eyes widened. Out, like, out. Just around the city, I said calmly. I want to see who's talking. Vaggie, standing near the desk, stiffened. Who's talking about what? Charlie's expression tightened. The incident. I nodded once. Charlie's hands clenched around her clipboard. Are you going to do something? Not like yesterday, I said gently. Charlie exhaled, relieved. Okay. Lucifer looked up from where he'd been hovering near the desk, pretending he was reading the hotel's pamphlet while clearly not reading anything. You're going hunting, Lucifer said, tone light. I'm going listening, I corrected. Lucifer's grin sharpened. Same thing. Emily stepped closer, still holding a stack of towels. She hesitated, clearly wanting to come with me, then glanced at Charlie and stopped herself. I'll stay here, Emily said quickly. I'm doing the plan. Charlie smiled at her, soft. Thank you. Emily nodded, then looked at me. Be careful. I will, I replied. Vaggie's eyes stayed sharp. If you find someone planning something, tell us. I will, I said. Lucifer lifted 2 fingers in a casual salute. Try not to start a war. I won't, I replied cheerfully, then paused. Unless someone forces it. Lucifer's grin faded slightly as he caught the serious edge. He nodded once. I walked out. Hell greeted me with noise and heat like it always did. The street in front of the hotel had more lingering eyes than it should. People pretending to pass by, then slowing. People standing in pairs, whispering. A few demons looked annoyed, like the hotel existing was already an insult. I walked past them without reacting. I wasn't looking for random gossip. I was looking for a pattern. If an overlord or someone close to one had pushed those troublemakers toward the hotel, the rumor would have a direction. Hell's social circles weren't subtle. They just pretended they were. I headed toward areas where the power-adjacent demons liked to gather. Clubs. Back rooms. Places where deals happened in conversation rather than in writing. It wasn't hard. The city practically advertised where corruption lived. A club with a glowing sign pulsed with music so heavy it made the sidewalk vibrate. Demons stood outside like decoration, wearing expensive clothes and bored expressions. They glanced at me as I approached, eyes narrowing. One of them stepped forward, blocking the door with a lazy posture that still carried threat. Private, he said. I smiled. I'm not here for the music. He stared. Then leave. I tilted my head. Do you know who I am? He hesitated. Just a fraction. People say things, he said. They do, I agreed. I stepped slightly to the side, not pushing, but making it clear I wasn't intimidated by his stance. I just want to ask a question, I said calmly. He swallowed. We don't answer questions. I kept my voice cheerful. Sure you do. He looked back toward the door, then back to me, then exhaled like he was annoyed at himself. What question? He asked. Who told those 3 idiots to hit the hotel? I said simply. His face tightened. I don't know. I nodded. You probably don't. But you might know what people are saying. He hesitated. I added, lightly, if you don't answer, I'll just go in and ask everyone. His eyes widened slightly. He looked toward the door again, clearly imagining the chaos of that. People are saying it was a test, he said quickly. Like, someone wanted to see if the princess had teeth. I nodded once. Who wanted to see? He shrugged too fast. Could be anybody. I watched him until the shrug lost confidence. He exhaled. Some of the chatter points toward the V's, he said reluctantly. That made sense. Vox, Valentino, and Velvet loved attention, loved influence, loved anything that could be spun into content. The hotel was an easy target. Heaven stepping into hell was an even easier one. Valentino would love the intimidation angle. Vox would love the broadcast. Velvet would love the social churn. But the V's was also the easiest answer to give when you wanted someone to stop asking questions. I nodded anyway. Anything more specific? The guard looked miserable. No. I smiled pleasantly. Thanks. I walked away before he could change his mind. I didn't go into the club. Not yet. The point wasn't to start fights. It was to confirm direction. If the V's were truly involved, their fingerprints would be visible in the rumor network, references to screens, to recordings, to did you see, to it's trending. So I walked where screens were. Vox's influence wasn't confined to one building. It was in the air. Displays mounted on walls. Ads that flickered on cracked billboards. Demons watching short clips on handheld devices, laughing, arguing. I passed a group crowded around a wall screen. They were watching some low-quality footage of the Hazbin hotel's front doors from a distance. The angle was bad, but the caption was loud. Heaven's new pet project? A demon pointed at the screen. I'm telling you, that angel chick was there yesterday. Another scoffed. Not the same one. She left. A third leaned in. And then the three guys went in and didn't come out. Yeah, the first said, voice dropping. They say they got erased. The second demon laughed, forced. That's not real. The third demon looked nervous. I dunno. The air changed. Like the street got colder for a second. I stepped closer, casual. They noticed me too late. The nervous one's eyes widened. Oh shit. The one who'd been scoffing froze, mouth half open. The first demon took a step back. Hey, we weren't. I don't care that you're talking, I said cheerfully. I care who posted that. They stared. The nervous demon pointed weakly at the corner of the screen where a logo pulsed. Vox's brand. Looks like Vox, I said. The scoffing demon swallowed. Yeah. Did you see this anywhere else? I asked. The first demon nodded quickly. A few places. Different captions. Same grainy clip. Did anyone claim responsibility? I asked. They shook their heads. The nervous one spoke, voice shaking. It's just spreading. Right, I said. I looked at the clip again. It wasn't footage from inside. Just outside. Someone had been watching the hotel before the incident. That meant intent. That meant setup. That meant somebody wanted a story. I tapped the side of the screen once. It flickered. Tell people this, I said casually, looking at the demons. If Vox wants to broadcast, he can broadcast. If Valentino wants to posture, he can posture. If anyone wants to send idiots to threaten people inside that building again, the result will be worse than a trending clip. The demons nodded rapidly. I stepped away before it turned into a crowd scene. Next stop was quieter, a narrow street lined with businesses that existed mostly as fronts. Power met there in small conversations, not in parties. If anyone had been paid to do the hotel stunt, word would pass through those corners. I walked into a small shop with shelves full of junk that looked valuable only to someone desperate. A bell rang softly as the door opened. The clerk behind the counter looked up, eyes narrowing. He was an imp-like demon with a neat suit and a smile that didn't belong on his face. "Welcome," he said brightly. "Looking for something special?" "I'm looking for information," I replied. His smile tightened. "We don't sell that." "You do," I said gently. He stared at me, then glanced toward a back door like he was considering running. "I'm not here to harm you," I said cheerfully. "I'm here to understand the rumor flow." He blinked. "Rumor flow?" "The hotel," I clarified. His face shifted into feigned confusion. "What hotel?" I sighed quietly, still amused. "The bright one with the big sign." His smile returned, strained. "Ah! That hotel?" "Yes," I said. "Who paid those 3 idiots?" He swallowed. "I don't know." I believed him more than the club guard, mostly because he looked genuinely scared rather than annoyed. "Do you know who's talking about it in serious circles?" I asked. He hesitated, then leaned forward slightly. "People are saying a few overlords are irritated," he said quietly. "Not because of the hotel itself. Because of outsiders." "Heaven," I said. He nodded quickly. "Heaven. And Lucifer showing up?" I nodded slowly. "Do they know he's helping?" The clerk let out a weak laugh. "They don't believe in helping. They believe in leverage." That was accurate. "Names," I said. The clerk flinched. "If I say names, I die." "You won't," I replied. He stared at me like he didn't know how to process that. "I can't protect you from everything," I added honestly. "But I can protect you from dying for answering a question." He swallowed. "Some chatter mentions Vox," he said, voice low. "Because footage popped up fast." "Mentions Velvet because it turned into social noise quick." "Mentions Valentino because he likes to see if he can break things." I nodded. "Anyone else?" The clerk hesitated. "Some people mention smaller players trying to impress bigger ones." "So the idiots might not have been directly ordered by an overlord," I said. He nodded quickly. "Could have been someone trying to earn favor." That also made sense. Hell's hierarchy ran on desperate attempts to climb. I watched his face. "Do you know who?" He shook his head rapidly. "No. No, I swear." I believed him. "All right," I said. "Thank you." He exhaled, relief shaking through him. I turned toward the door, then paused. "One more thing," I said. He stiffened. "Tell people I'm not running the hotel," I said calmly. "Charlie is. If they want to challenge her project socially, that's her problem. If they want to burn it down with violence, it becomes mine." The clerk nodded repeatedly, eyes wide. "Yes. Yes, I will." I left. Outside, hell's noise hit again. I walked slowly, letting the information settle. The picture was forming, the V's were at least exploiting the incident, likely ready to amplify anything that made the hotel look weak or ridiculous. Whether they had directly sent the 3 troublemakers didn't matter as much as what they'd do next. They'd push. They'd probe. They'd try to turn the hotel into content, into humiliation, into a warning. Charlie couldn't fight that alone. Lucifer could help, but he wasn't built for subtle media warfare. He'd walk into Vox's space and turn it into a personal fight. That would be satisfying but messy. Emily was good for morale, not for politics. That meant the protection had to be quiet, limits, boundaries, and clear consequences that discouraged physical attacks while letting Charlie keep social control. I returned toward the hotel, but I didn't go in. Not yet. I opened the way back to heaven from a quiet alley, away from eyes. Heaven took me back with clean air and steady light. I walked straight to Sira's administrative office. She was already at a table with documents spread in precise stacks. Her posture was perfect. Her face looked tired anyway. She looked up as I entered. "You went to hell?" "Yes," I replied. Her eyes flicked over me. "And you returned quickly." "I got what I needed," I said. The speaker of God was there too, standing near the table with her staff in hand, expression focused. She looked relieved to see me, then quickly masked it with professionalism. "My lord," the speaker said. "Updates." Emily wasn't in the room. That was fine. This part wasn't for her. I stepped closer to the table and kept my tone plain. "Rumors are spreading fast," I said. "There's footage circulating of the hotel from outside, labeled as a heaven project." Sira's jaw tightened. "Vox." "Likely," I said. "At minimum, he's exploiting it. The V's names are coming up repeatedly." The speaker's brows knit. "Media influence in hell complicates perception." "It does," I agreed. "It makes the hotel look like a spectacle, not a choice." Sira folded her hands neatly. "Do you believe the V's sent the attackers?" "Unclear," I said honestly. "Could have been smaller demons trying to impress bigger ones." But Vox-branded clips appeared quickly, which suggests somebody was watching the hotel already. Sira's gaze sharpened. "Premeditation." "Yes," I said. The speaker's wings twitched slightly. "Then we must reduce heaven's visibility further." "Yes," I replied. "Emily can still visit, but she needs to arrive and behave like a friend. No signage. No official announcements. No heavenly escort squad." Sira nodded once. "Agreed." The speaker turned slightly, as if mentally rearranging an organizational chart. "We can formalize a communication channel through me. Supplies delivered quietly. No public statements." "Good," I said. Sira's eyes stayed on me. "What about consequences?" I kept my tone calm. "Physical attacks on the hotel will be treated as a serious offense. Quietly enforced. Not broadcast." The speaker hesitated. "Enforced by who?" "By me," I said. Sira's expression didn't change much, but her eyes softened a fraction. "Understood." The speaker looked down at the documents, then back up. "Do you want me to speak to the elder angels about hell's media influence?" "No," I said. "Not yet. That becomes a political spectacle. We don't need that." Sira nodded. "We keep it contained." "Yes," I replied. The speaker exhaled slowly. "Charlie's project is already fragile." "I know," I said. "Which is why we don't smother it." Sira's gaze shifted slightly, as if she was thinking about Emily. "How is Emily?" Sira asked. "She's following the limits," I said. "She's doing well. Charlie responds well to her." Sira nodded once. "Good." The speaker's expression softened. "Emily is happiest when she feels useful." "I know," I said. "We're giving her a way to be useful without turning her into an emblem." Sira's fingers tapped once on the table, controlled. "Then she returns today as planned." "Yes," I replied. "I will accompany her again, but I won't hover in the lobby. I'll stay close enough to respond if needed." The speaker nodded. "I will ensure no one in heaven attempts to attach formal oversight." I smiled slightly. "Thank you." She blinked, then nodded, almost shy about being thanked. Sira stood, signaling the meeting was done. "Then go." I turned to leave, then paused at the doorway and glanced back. "One more thing," I said. Sira looked up. "Yes." If the V's escalate socially, I said, Charlie needs support that doesn't look like heaven threatening them. Sierra's eyes narrowed. What support? Information, I replied. And time. If heaven keeps its distance, Charlie can frame this as her project, not ours. The speaker nodded quickly. Understood. I left the office and headed toward the gate where Emily would be waiting. I found her in the same lounge space as last night, notebook open again, as if she'd been reviewing her own rules like a checklist. When she saw me, she snapped it shut, standing quickly. Are we going? Emily asked, trying to sound calm and failing. Yes, I said. We're going. Emily smiled bright, then reined it in, inhaling slowly like she remembered the breathe first rule. I'm ready, she said. I opened the way. We stepped down into hell again. The heat hit. Emily's shoulders lifted, then lowered as she controlled herself. She glanced around, then fixed her gaze forward and walked with me toward the hotel. On the street, I noticed a few demons watching Emily more intently than before. Word had spread that she was there. They didn't approach. They just watched. Emily noticed too. Her fingers curled slightly, then relaxed. I'm okay, Emily murmured, more to herself than to me. I nodded. You're doing fine. We reached the hotel and stepped inside. Charlie looked up immediately, relief showing in her face when she saw Emily. You came back, Charlie said warmly. Emily smiled, controlled but genuine. I did. Vaggie nodded once at Emily, then looked at me. Anything? Rumors, I said quietly. Mostly outside. Charlie's face tightened. About yesterday? Yes, I replied. Vox branded clips are circulating. Husk swore softly behind the bar. Of course. Angel perked up from the couch. Wait, there's footage. Yes, I said. Angel leaned forward. Am I in it? No, I replied. Angel looked disappointed. Rude. Charlie hugged her clipboard closer. What are they saying? That heaven is running your hotel, I said plainly. And that anyone who steps wrong gets erased. Charlie flinched, then steadied herself. I don't want that. I know, I said. So we keep doing what you're doing. Keep it normal. Keep it yours. Emily nodded quickly. Yours. Charlie looked at Emily, grateful. Thank you. Lucifer wasn't in the lobby at that moment. That was probably good. If Lucifer heard Vox too loudly, he'd show up instantly out of spite. Charlie took a breath and forced her smile back into place. Okay, Charlie said, voice determined. Then we keep running the hotel. Emily nodded. Yes. I stepped slightly back again, letting Charlie be the center. Outside, the city kept talking. Inside, Charlie kept working. And I stayed close enough to respond if the talking turned into hands. Chapter 10, a simple message. I let Charlie finish her sentence before I moved. She was standing behind the front desk with her clipboard held tight against her chest, shoulders squared like she could physically block rumors from entering the building. Emily stood a step behind her, hands folded, posture careful, trying very hard to look like a guest and not like a symbol. Vaggie watched the lobby doors like she expected them to kick open again. Husk kept wiping the same glass. Angel Dust lounged on the couch, pretending he didn't care while listening to everything. Charlie's voice stayed steady. Then we keep running the hotel. Emily nodded quickly. Yes. I stepped back from the desk so Charlie stayed centered. I didn't want this to become me taking over. She was right to keep moving forward like nothing had changed. It was the best defense she had. But the rumors about Vox-branded footage weren't harmless. They weren't just words. Vox didn't do things accidentally. If he was pushing the story, he was doing it because it benefited him. Today it was a clip. Tomorrow it could be a coordinated wave of harassment that looked like spontaneous outrage. After that it could be violence packaged as entertainment. I kept my voice quiet so the whole lobby didn't turn toward me. I'm going to handle the Vox angle. Charlie's eyes widened. Handle how? Talk, I said. Vaggy's gaze sharpened. You're going to his place. Yes, I replied. Husk snorted without looking up. That'll go great. Angel leaned forward, grin flickering. Oh my god. You're going to Vox. Can I come? No, I said. Angel pouted. Rude. Emily looked between Charlie and me, clearly wanting to follow and clearly remembering the limits. I can stay, Emily said quickly, voice gentle. I'll stay. Charlie's shoulders loosened a fraction. Okay. I nodded once at Emily. Do the plan. Emily nodded firmly. Friend. Not authority. Good, I said. Charlie swallowed. Just, don't make it worse. I gave her a small smile. I won't. Vaggy didn't look convinced. If Vox tries anything, I'll leave, I said. And then I'll come back later. Vaggy's eyes narrowed. That sounded like you're lying. It's not a lie, I replied. It's just not the whole list of possibilities. Charlie flinched slightly at that, and I immediately softened my tone. I'm not going there to start a fight, I said calmly. I'm going there to set a boundary. Charlie nodded slowly. Okay. I turned toward the doors. Husk finally looked up. If you're going to threaten him, don't do it in a way that makes him want attention. I know, I replied. Husk grunted. Good. Angel lifted his hand again. If you end up on TV, I want royalties. I glanced at him. No. Angel sighed dramatically and flopped back onto the couch. Emily stepped closer to Charlie, lowering her voice. We'll keep it calm, she said gently. Charlie looked grateful enough that her eyes went shiny for a second. Thank you. I left the lobby and stepped onto the street. The air outside felt thicker. The eyes on the hotel were still there, lingering in corners, trying to look casual. A pair of demons across the street pretended to talk while watching the front doors. A few passers-by slowed down just long enough to stare at the sign, then kept moving. I walked away from the hotel at a steady pace, not rushing. Vox's influence was easy to track if you paid attention. Screens were everywhere, but the ones tied into his network had a certain polish, a certain brightness, like they were getting power from something other than the city's broken grid. Ads flickered for products nobody needed. Short clips played on loops. Laugh tracks snuck into the background of street noise. I followed the screens. The closer I got to Vox's territory, the more the city felt like it was being watched on purpose. Cameras tucked into corners. Drones drifting overhead. Demons with earpieces pretending they weren't security. The buildings got cleaner. The neon got brighter. The vibe got more corporate and less chaotic, which in hell always meant somebody was controlling the chaos rather than letting it happen naturally. A tall building rose ahead, covered in massive displays. Vox's face appeared on one, grinning like he was hosting a game show. Another showed Velvet posing like a fashion ad. Another flashed Valentino's logo in colors that made my eyes itch. I stopped at the base of the building and looked up. Well, I said quietly. Of course. The entrance was guarded by two demons in matching suits. They had the posture of people who wanted to look important. They noticed me and froze slightly, then tried to recover. One stepped forward. "This is private property." "I'm here to see Vox," I said pleasantly. He stared. "Appointments only." I smiled. "I don't do appointments." His eyes flicked to my face, then to my posture, then away. He swallowed. "You can't just." "I can," I said calmly. The guard hesitated, then lifted a hand toward his earpiece. Before he could speak, the building's front doors opened on their own. The guards exchanged a look, uneasy. I walked inside without touching them. The lobby was sleek in a way that made it feel wrong for hell. Polished floors, bright lights, screens embedded in walls, sound dampened so the city's noise didn't seep in. A receptionist demon sat behind a glossy desk, eyes wide as I approached. She tried to smile professionally. It came out shaky. "Welcome to Vox Tech," she said. "How may I?" "I'm here for Vox," I repeated. Her eyes darted to a screen beside her. It flickered, then displayed a simple message. "Send him up." The receptionist swallowed. "Right this way," she said quickly. An elevator opened. I stepped in. The doors slid shut. Soft music played, cheerful and fake. As the elevator rose, I felt more cameras pivot toward me. I didn't look up at them. I didn't need to. Vox could watch all he wanted. The point was that he was going to talk to me in person, which meant he wasn't sure what else to do. The elevator opened into a hallway with more screens. I walked forward, guided by subtle lighting changes and doors that opened before I reached them. Vox's studio wasn't one room. It was a set of rooms connected by glass and cables, full of equipment and staff moving with practiced speed. Screens showed live feeds from around hell. Producers spoke into headsets. A few demons stopped when they saw me and immediately looked away, like pretending I wasn't there would make it safer. At the center, Vox stood in front of a large wall display, talking animatedly to someone off camera. He was tall, sharp, and bright in that synthetic way. His head was a screen, his face a constant expression of confident entertainment. Even standing still, he looked like he was broadcasting. When he noticed me, he paused mid-sentence. The staff around him froze. Vox's smile remained, but I saw the small delay in it, like his systems were processing something unexpected. Then he turned fully toward me, posture opening in a practiced host stance. "Well," Vox said cheerfully. "Look who wandered into my little corner of hell." I smiled back, mild. "Hi, Vox." He tilted his head. "You're bold, showing up here." "I'm not hiding," I replied. Vox's grin widened. "Right. Because you're..." He didn't finish the sentence, but his eyes flicked across me again, measuring. I kept my voice light. "Can we talk privately?" Vox raised his hands. "Oh, absolutely. I love private conversations." He snapped his fingers. The staff immediately moved away, pretending they hadn't heard anything. A set of doors slid open to a side office with glass walls that could turn opaque on command. Vox gestured. "After you." I walked in. Vox followed, closing the doors behind us. The glass darkened instantly, cutting us off from the studio's view. Inside, the office was neat and stylish. A couch, a desk, more screens. A little too bright. Vox leaned back against his desk, arms